The scene before his eyes was incredibly real. The mottled walls, the old locust tree in the courtyard, the faint aroma of food wafting through the air, and the sounds of children playing and frolicking. Everything was exactly as it was in the depths of his memory. The orphanage director was sitting in a wicker chair under the eaves, smiling kindly and beckoning to him. A strong surge of warmth and nostalgia, almost enough to drown him, welled up in his heart. The director could be said to be one of the few lights in his lonely previous life, the softest corner in the depths of his heart. Xiao Xian, you're back? Come here quickly. Grandma saved some candy for you. The director's voice was aged and warm. Chun Xian involuntarily took a step forward, but it was only one step. After that step, Chun Xian stopped and just silently watched the director not far away. These things certainly made him feel nostalgic. However, he knew very well that before he transmigrated in his previous life, the director had already passed away. So all of this was fake. Nevertheless, he was grateful that the heart demon allowed him to see the director again and to see the orphanage from his previous life. Chun Xian gazed at the director and the orphanage for a moment. Seeing them again was enough. A moment later, Chun Xian reined in his thoughts. If I indulge in this, my Tao will vanish and my body will perish. Chun Xian silently recited Senior Brother Zhang's warning. Chun Xian took a deep breath. Inside his purple mansion, the spiritual chi vortex, which had become more solid after passing the first 3 tribulations, trembled slightly, and the blurred embryonic form of an infant emitted a faint glimmer of light. The power of his formidable divine sense pierced through the warm illusion before him like a sharp sword. Chun Xian's voice was calm and firm, echoing in his sea of consciousness. What I seek is to witness the Tao, to achieve immortal ascension, and to gain longevity. Though the past was warm, it is not my destination. As the words fell, the scene of the orphanage began to shatter piece by piece like a fading scroll. The director's figure gradually blurred, and that kind smile dissipated into points of light. The warm atmosphere was replaced by a cold void. The tide of the heart demon tried to counterattack, manifesting all sorts of regrets, loneliness, and resentment from his time on Earth, attempting to shake his Tao heart in another way. But Chun Xian's mind was already clear, and his Tao heart was as stable as a rock. All illusions originate from inner obsessions, and the heart demon tribulation is about facing those obsessions and transcending them. The illusion completely collapsed. Chun Xian's mind returned to the quiet room. The aura around him fluctuated slightly before settling down completely. Within his dantian, the nascent soul embryo became a bit more solid, and the golden light it emitted grew purer. The 4th layer of the heart demon tribulation was broken. As time passed, Chun Xian continued to undergo the heart demon tribulation. Although he hadn't been cultivating for many years, Chun Xian's Tao heart was very resolute, and he had never experienced a moment where his thoughts were blocked. Thus, he safely passed the subsequent 5th and 6th layers of the heart demon tribulation. Both of these layers of the heart demon tribulation worked by pulling at Chun Xian's nostalgia for his previous life. Ultimately, nostalgia could no longer affect him. Moreover, a thought had always resided in Chun Xian's heart. As long as he could achieve immortal ascension and become powerful enough, it wasn't impossible for him to return to Earth one day. Burying this thought deep in his heart was what kept him from being influenced by the past. Inside Chun Xian's body, his nascent soul had already reached the 2nd grade level. This was still not enough. Chun Xian began the 7th layer of the heart demon tribulation. This layer of the heart demon tribulation became completely different from the previous ones. The surrounding scenery changed, and Chun Xian returned to the 100 Herbs Valley, back to the day he first successfully drew qi into his body. Only this time, the system did not appear. A voice questioned Chun Xian. If there were no system, could he still keep going? To this, Chun Xian showed no panic. From a moment he successfully transmigrated and managed to join the Cloud Sea sect, he had always been very clear that he had already surpassed many people. He never felt inferior because of his former mortal body. He had always been proud just to have successfully joined the Cloud Sea sect. A genius among mortal bodies is still a genius. Chun Xian was grateful and fortunate to have the system, but even if he didn't, he would never give up. If he couldn't be a protagonist with a cheat, then he would be a protagonist with a mortal body. Chun Xian's Tao heart would not be damaged by such things. The seventh layer of the heart demon tribulation was quickly broken. Next was the eighth layer of the heart demon tribulation. This time, the heart demon tribulation pointed directly at Chun Xian's heart. If there were no immortals, what then? This heart demon didn't appear out of nowhere. Chun Xian had long known that in the Hunyuan world, no great emperor had ever achieved immortal ascension. There were only some legends, suspecting that someone had successfully become an immortal. However, the closer it got to the present time, the fewer people achieved immortal ascension. Countless great emperors in the Hunyuan world had been trapped in the great emperor realm for unknown years. So, if there were no immortals, what then? This question did indeed make Chun Xian a bit flustered. He had always wanted longevity and immortal ascension, but if there were no immortals, then his current efforts would be in vain. But soon, Chun Xian's thoughts calmed down, and he became incredibly firm once again. He believed there must be immortals, and he would definitely forge a path to immortality. The ninth layer of the heart demon tribulation. This tribulation once again touched the depths of Chun Xian's heart. If Chun Xian truly became an immortal, truly gained longevity, and truly accomplished all his goals, what would happen if the system initiated a possession? This was actually a trace of worry that Chun Xian had harbored in his heart. But facing this worry and the current heart demon tribulation, he did not back down. Chun Xian thought back to his previous life. Although there was warmth, most of the time, he was just an ordinary person, as ordinary as could be. He thought back to his cultivation in this life. Relying on the system, his cultivation speed was incredibly fast. Now that he was about to form a nascent soul, his lifespan could reach 2,000 years. If one day in the future, possession really occurred, then he would accept it. At least, before being possessed, he had lived a much better life than before. Rather than worrying about being possessed, it was better to worry about whether he could become an immortal. No matter what it is, nothing can stop me. Chun Xian muttered to himself as he passed the nine-layer heart demon tribulations one by one. Within the Dantian's purple mansion, Chun Xian's nascent soul was now emitting a pure golden light throughout its body. The nascent soul's facial features were much clearer, its eyes and brows bearing a 70 to 80% resemblance to Chun Xian himself. Tao charms flowed around it, emitting a unique aura. This was precisely a first-grade nascent soul. Almost at the instant the nascent soul was fully formed, the heaven and earth spiritual chi within a 100-jong radius of the quiet room suddenly boiled, as if drawn by an invisible giant force. It converged frantically towards him, forming a massive, visible spiritual chi vortex that surged wildly into his body. This was not an illusion of the heart demon tribulation, but a spiritual chi tide naturally triggered by the resonance of heaven and earth upon the successful condensation of a first-grade nascent soul. The nascent soul sat in the center of the purple mansion, its small mouth slightly open like a whale inhaling water. It took in all that massive, surging spiritual chi, 10 times more than what he had in the purple mansion realm, tempering and compressing it for its own use. Chun Xian's aura began to climb at an astonishing speed, completely surpassing the scope of the purple mansion realm and officially stepping into a brand new level of life. The nascent soul realm. Chun Xian slowly opened his eyes, a divine light shining within them as if the sun, moon, and stars were cycling through life and death within his pupils. An unstoppable and powerful pressure naturally radiated outward. It was the aura of a nascent soul cultivator, far beyond what any Zifu cultivator could compare to. It's finally done. Chun Xian looked inward, feeling the unprecedented surge of power within his body and the sense of a lifespan extending 2,000 years. He couldn't help but feel a ripple of emotion in his heart. The experience of this heart demon tribulation had given him much to reflect upon. Since his transmigration, he had gone from qi gathering in the Hundred Herbs Valley to making a name for himself in the Flowing Cloud Trial, entering Danshao, condensing a golden spirit sea, obtaining heavenly Dao Qi, achieving heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, gaining purple Qi from the east, and cultivating a high-grade purple mansion. Until today, surviving the 9-layer heart demon tribulation and forming a first-grade nascent soul. Chun Xian pulled back his thoughts, and immediately after, his nascent soul left his body. He curiously examined his own nascent soul. Looking at his own nascent soul, it truly felt special yet slightly awkward. After observing it for a while, Chun Xian withdrew the nascent soul. With the nascent soul successfully formed, it was time to consider his subsequent cultivation. To speed up his cultivation, he would naturally still need to practice alchemy. Before leaving Qingyan Star, he had spent as many contribution points as he could at the Cloud Sea sect on Qingyan Star. He had exchanged them for many materials for refining cultivation medicinal pills, so he was not lacking in materials. However, he had so many contribution points that he had completely exhausted the stock of some materials, and with many points still remaining, he could only exchange them for a large sum of top-grade spirit stones. He wanted to check out the sect market of the Cloud Sea sect on Godsea Star. The resources on Godsea Star were bound to be much richer than those on Qingyan Star. Although he hadn't officially joined the Cloud Sea sect of Godsea Star, he had plenty of spirit stones and could still use them to buy what he wanted. It was just that he might lose out a bit on the value. Within the sect, spirit stones were still not as useful as contribution points. But there was no way around it. Contribution points from the Cloud Sea sects of different realms were not interchangeable. It hadn't taken him long to condense his nascent soul, and there was still a significant amount of time before the ascension ceremony on Godsea Star. Chun Xian stood up and walked out of his immortal cave. Chun Xian planned to head to the sect market of the Cloud Sea sect in this realm. After leaving the immortal cave, Chun Xian soon encountered some disciples of the Godsea Star sect. After asking around, he learned the location of the sect market. The layout here was exactly like the lower realm. There was also a Cloud Sea Peak and the sect market, and such were all located on Cloud Sea Peak. This was likely no coincidence. The lower realm was simply imitating the upper realm. Perhaps the Cloud Sea Holy Land was the same way. Sect market. When Chun Xian arrived at the market, he was stunned by the sight. Though called a market, it could actually be described as a small city. Within this small city, all the Cloud Sea sect disciples were doing business, and there were many disciples setting up stalls. It was incredibly lively. He was already starting to look forward to what the internal market of the Cloud Sea Holy Land would be like. Walking into the market, Chun Xian saw many precious items he had never seen before. After all, on Godsea Star, the highest-ranking cultivators were 10th Realm Nirvana cultivators. The items in this market naturally went without saying. Materials that Chun Xian needed could be found with just a casual search. Chun Xian began a massive shopping spree. He mainly purchased materials that could be used to refine pills for increasing the cultivation of nascent soul cultivators. There were also materials for 5th-grade dragon scale pills and materials for pills that enhance divine sense. After buying enough materials, Chun Xian continued to browse the market to see if there were any other good things. After wandering for a while, he even saw someone selling heavenly Dao Qi and purple Qi source crystals. These items, which were incredibly precious in the Azure Cloud realm, were actually for sale in the Yinhai sect market on Godsea Star. However, although they were for sale, the prices were not cheap. If Chun Xian ever ran out of spirit stones, he could completely sell his own heavenly Dao Qi and purple Qi source crystals. Moreover, after Chun Xian's purple Qi from the east condensed a Dao seal, it could spontaneously condense purple Qi source crystals. It would produce one whenever it was idle. After spending a long time in the sect market, Chun Xian left and headed up Cloud Sea Peak. Soon, Chun Xian found the Daola Tower of the Cloud Sea sect in this realm. During the previous competition, the sect had rewarded him with 2 jade plaques for top-tier daoarts. Before he left the Azure Cloud realm, He had originally planned to dispose of them, such as by using them or selling them directly to someone else. Since they were jade plaques, they were easy to trade. But he later learned from Senior Brother Sun that these jade plaques were different from contribution points. They could be used in other Cloud C sects and even the Cloud C Holy Land. Chen Xian could definitely keep them and was in no rush to sell. So Chen Xian had held on to them. His arrival at the Dao Law Tower now wasn't necessarily to use them immediately. He just wanted to see if the Dao Law Tower of the Cloud C sect in this realm had any daoarts that interested him. As a medium-grade main star, the top-tier daoarts of the Cloud C sect in this realm were very numerous. However, it was a pity that there were no supreme Dao techniques here either. Forget it. Why bother being disappointed? Even if there were, he wouldn't be able to exchange for them anyway. Supreme Dao techniques were only possessed by the various Holy Lands and Imperial clans. The value of a single Supreme Dao technique was extremely high. Dao Law Tower. After Chen Xian arrived, the Tower Guard Elder immediately noticed him. He recognized Chen Xian. Among the sect's high-level members, word had already spread that a genius had emerged from Qingyan Star. "Might you be Marshal Nephew, Chen?" The Tower Guard Elder called out with a smile upon seeing Chen Xian. "Greetings, Elder. Does the Elder know me?" Chen Xian cupped his hands and asked. The sect elders now. One could say more than half the people in the sect have probably heard of your great name." The Tower Guard Elder said with a laugh. After saying that, the Tower Guard Elder asked again, "Have you come to the Dao Law Tower because you've taken an interest in the daoarts within the God Sea Star sect?" Hearing this, Chen Xian said, "This disciple obtained 2 top-tier Dao art jade plaques in the lower realm and has never used them, so I wanted to come and take a look." Hearing this, the Tower Guard Elder understood Chen Xian's meaning. After thinking for a moment, he reached out his hand, and 3 jade slips flew into his grasp. Although our God Sea Star is still a medium-grade main star and cannot compare to the Holy Land, we still have a few very good top-tier daoarts. Take a look at these 3 daoarts. All 3 are simplified versions of Supreme Dao techniques, which your Qingyan Star likely doesn't have. Daoarts like these are all excellent top-tier daoarts. The Tower Guard Elder said as the jade slips flew in front of Chen Xian. Some daoarts were similar to cultivation techniques in that they were simplified versions of higher-level ones. For example, Flowing Cloud Moonstep was a simplified version of Flowing Cloud Moonchase. In fact, Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and Flowing Cloud Moonchase were also simplified versions of Supreme Dao techniques. If there was an opportunity in the Holy Land in the future, Chen Xian could also learn the Supreme Dao techniques that these 2 Dao arts evolved into. As for Weather Spirit, Devouring Mysterious Fire, and Purple Chi from the East had advanced Supreme Dao techniques, Chen Xian didn't know. If they did, it would be best, and he could go looking for them later. If not, he would deal with that when the time came. "Thank you, Elder. I will take a look." Chen Xian took the jade slips given by the Tower Guard Elder and examined them. Soon, he had briefly finished reading the introductions for these 3 daoarts. Among these 3 daoarts, 2 were pure offensive techniques, one of which was named the 5 Elements Divine Sword. The other was a lightning element Dao art called Destruction Thunderlight. These 2 Dao arts, one a sword-based technique and the other a lightning element technique, both possessed terrifying destructive power. Not to mention, they were simplified versions derived from Supreme Dao techniques. They certainly wouldn't be bad. As for the final Dao art, it was named Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting, a technique for changing one's appearance. Seeing that Chen Xian had finished reading, the Tower Guard Elder said, "These 3 Dao arts are all quite good. Are you willing to exchange for any of them?" Chen Xian felt they were indeed good. It was just that there was a problem. For others, these simplified versions of Supreme Dao techniques were definitely worth exchanging for. But Chen Xian was different. Barring any accidents, he would soon be heading to the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Once there, he would only need to find a way to earn contribution points, and sooner or later, he could directly exchange for the higher-tier versions of these 3 Dao arts, the Supreme Dao techniques themselves. Since he could learn the Supreme Dao techniques in one step, he felt there was no need to first exchange for their simplified versions. The Tower Guard Elder didn't know what Chen Xian was thinking. He only saw Chen Xian deep in thought. He asked curiously, "Do none of these 3 Dao arts simplified from supreme Dao techniques catch your eye?" "It's not that, Elder. You should know that my comprehension ability is fairly decent. So I was thinking if I go to the Cloud Sea Holy Land later, I might have the chance to directly learn the higher tier versions of these 3 Dao arts." Chen Xian spoke his mind directly. Since this Tower Guard Elder already knew about his extraordinary comprehension ability, saying this didn't count as boasting. The Tower Guard Elder nodded upon hearing this. "Your words have merit. However, you might not know that supreme Dao techniques are extremely precious even in the Holy Land. Obtaining them is no easy feat. At the very least, they cannot be bought with contribution points or spirit stones. The comprehension ability you've displayed is indeed extraordinary, but wanting to obtain the higher tier versions of these 3 Dao arts in short order shouldn't be easy either. Besides, you've surely learned Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and Flowing Cloud Moonstep, and likely Flowing Cloud Moonchase as well. Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and Flowing Cloud Moonchase also have higher tier versions. Won't you want to obtain those first? Therefore, obtaining the other 3 Supreme Dao techniques will require even more time. Since you can't obtain the higher tier versions in the short term, why not learn these for now? When you eventually switch to the higher tier versions, you'll be able to pick them up immediately. After all, besides these 3, could you even look at other top-tier Dao arts? Perhaps some top-tier Dao arts have special effects that are hard to refuse, but if you encounter such arts later, you can just exchange for them then. In the Cloud Sea Holy Land, while supreme Dao techniques cannot be exchanged for, top-tier Dao arts can be exchanged whenever you want, and they aren't expensive. Let alone the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Even within the Cloud Sea sect on Chinyan Star and God Sea Star, cultivation techniques and Dao arts had always been very cheap. The price for exchanging techniques within the sect was practically a bargain compared to the outside world. After hearing the Tower Guard Elder's words, Chen Xian felt they were very reasonable, setting aside when he might obtain the higher tier versions of these Dao arts. He currently didn't have any other top-tier Dao arts he wanted. His goals were all set on supreme Dao techniques. So it was better to first learn the simplified versions of the supreme Dao techniques. Furthermore, even if he obtained a supreme Dao technique very quickly, his spirit awakening points were limited, so he could only temporarily awaken 1 Dao art. He would have to learn the other 2 by himself first. In short, he might as well learn these 3 top-tier Dao arts first. Having considered it clearly, Chen Xian asked, "Elder, I wonder if I can exchange for a Dao art using spirit stones? I would like to exchange for all 3 of these Dao arts." He didn't have any contribution points from the God Sea Star branch of the Cloud Sea sect, so he really didn't know if he could exchange for an extra one. Anyway, since he was taking them, he wanted to take all 3 at once. Just take them. The extra one will be considered a reward from the sect. The Tower Guard Elder smiled and directly undid the restrictions on the 3 Dao arts. Although the sect master hadn't given specific instructions, he understood that this was a good opportunity. It was just 1 top-tier Dao art. Giving it to Chen Xian directly would help build some goodwill toward the God Sea, Star Cloud Sea sect. If Chen Xian truly achieved success in the Cloud Sea Holy Land in the future, it would be a good thing. Thank you, Elder. Chen Xian felt the Tower Guard Elder's kindness and accepted the Dao art. Soon, Chen Xian used the Jade Slips. All 3 Dao arts were transferred into Chen Xian's mind. Chen Xian reviewed the detailed contents of the 3 Dao arts. Of these 3, the best, and the one Chen Xian valued most, was Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting. To be precise, it was the higher tier version of Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting. While Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting could only change one's facial appearance, its higher tier version, Thousand Transformations, could transform one's physical form at will, essentially functioning like the 72 transformations. Furthermore, Thousand Transformations could also disguise one's cultivation level. The effects of Thousand Transformations were such that, unless someone possessed an extremely powerful cultivation or divine sense, it would be very difficult to detect the disguise. Finally, The most important point was that if 1,000 transformations was cultivated to perfection and condensed a Tao seal, the disguised cultivation could even deceive world barriers. In other words, if he could cultivate 1,000 transformations to perfection, even if his cultivation exceeded the nascent soul stage, he could still smuggle himself onto low-level planets that possessed world barriers. Of course, if he exerted power exceeding what the world barrier allowed while inside such a world, he would still be repelled immediately. But at least he would have a way to return. If he could return a Qingyan star in the future, he would naturally be very willing. Moreover, the effect of 1,000 transformations was similar to the 72 transformations, which made him even happier. He wondered if, after obtaining 1,000 transformations in the future, he could teach this Tao art to the great sage. For a long time, it likely wouldn't be possible. After all, Tao arts exchanged within the sect could not be passed on to others at will, not even to one's own son, let alone a spirit pet. Having received the sect's favor, he was naturally willing to abide by the sect's rules. Thus, only when his strength became great enough that he had sufficient influence in the Holy Land, and he no longer worried about the great sage being exposed, could he discuss teaching the great sage this Tao art with the Holy Land. He was getting ahead of himself. Who knew when that would be? There was no rush for now. After receiving the 3 Tao arts, Chen Xian left the Tao Law Tower shortly after. Upon leaving the Tao Law Tower, Chen Xian returned to his immortal cave. Immediately following that, he summoned the system panel, intending to select a Tao art for spirit awakening. Host, Chun Xian Shi refining. Early stage nascent soul body refining. 4th realm perfection spirit refining. 4th realm perfection spirit awakening points. 1 cultivation techniques. 9 heavens cloud sea scripture, awakened. Azure sky dragon transformation art, awakened. Cloud sea heaven observation technique, awakened. Tao arts. Flowing cloud myriad forms, perfection, awakened. Flowing cloud, moon chase. Perfection, awakened. Eye purple imperial dragon flame. Perfection, awakened. A purple chi from the east, perfection, awakened. 1 thought seals the heavens major achievement, awakened. 10,000 B spirit communication minor achievement, unawakened. 1,000 illusions, shape-shifting, uninitiated, unawakened. 5 elements divine sword, uninitiated, unawakened. Destruction, thunder light, uninitiated, unawakened. He looked at the several Tao arts on the interface. Chen Xian did not hesitate and directly initiated spirit awakening for 1,000 illusions, shape-shifting. The 5 elements divine sword and destruction thunder light might indeed possess astonishing lethality. However, he had the 9 heavens sword. With his current cultivation level, he could fully drive the 9 flying swords to form the 9 heaven sword array, which was also extremely terrifying in power. Additionally, he still had the purple imperial dragon flame. Although the purple imperial dragon flame was only cultivated through a top-tier Tao art, it could grow to a level that was no less than a supreme Tao technique. As of now, the purple imperial dragon flame, which was already a tier 4 spirit fire, was definitely stronger than the destruction thunderlight. As for whether it could compare to the advanced Tao art of destruction thunderlight, it might not be able to right now, but it wasn't certain. Therefore, he was in no hurry to perform spirit awakening for the 5 elements, divine sword and destruction thunderlight. As for the other one, 10,000 B spirit communication, it wasn't needed yet. When the false is taken for the true becomes false. When the illusory is taken for real, reality turns into illusion. 1,000 forms and 10,000 faces change at will. After the spirit awakening of 1,000 illusions, shape-shifting, it also delivered an opening line. However, in the end, 1,000 illusions shape-shifting was currently just a Tao art for changing one's appearance and disguise. It wasn't as powerful as other Tao arts. What Chen Xian was truly looking forward to was 1,000 transformations. After the Tao art spirit awakening was complete, Chen Xian began his cultivation. The purple imperial dragon flame left his body to perform alchemy, while he himself went to cultivate the 3 Tao arts, 10,000 B's spirit communication, 5 elements divine sword, and destruction thunderlight. Although these three daoarts had not undergone spirit awakening, it didn't mean Chen Xian would simply give up on them. It was purely because his spirit awakening points were too few. If he had more spirit awakening points, he could have awakened all of these daoarts. It was always good to have more tricks up his sleeve. During the period that followed, Chen Xian didn't spend every day cultivating in his immortal cave. He also took some time to visit the library pavilions of Danshao Peak and Jade Firmament Peak. Although he didn't have a sect disciple token for the God Sea Stars Cloud Sea sect, nor did he have contribution points, he was able to successfully enter the library pavilion and read books just by using his name. The Cloud Sea sect of God Sea Star wanted to stay on good terms with Chen Xian. They were willing to give away daoarts, let alone letting Chen Xian read some books. Then, after spending some time, Chen Xian raised his alchemy and artifact refining skills to Tier 10. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and the day for the God Sea Star Ascension ceremony was approaching. During this period, although Chen Xian's cultivation hadn't increased by much, it had only gone from the early stage of the nascent soul to the middle stage of the nascent soul. However, this time Chen Xian was cultivating three paths simultaneously. His spiritual power, divine sense, and physical body were all improving together. While his cultivation reached the middle stage of the nascent soul, his body refining and divine sense reached the middle stage of the fifth realm. In addition, under the conditions of self-cultivation, one thought seals the heavens successfully reach perfection and condensed a Tao seal. Through self-cultivation, thousand illusions, shape-shifting, reached minor achievement. The proficiency of 10,000 B spirit communication had not yet increased and remained at minor achievement. The five elements Divine Sword and Destruction Thunderlight also reached the level of being proficient. Chen Xian's own comprehension ability was indeed quite good. By cultivating top-tier daoarts on his own, he quickly reached minor achievement in all of them. But Chen Xian also slowly discovered that daoarts were things that became harder the more one learned. For example, before a top-tier daoart reached the level of being proficient, it was equivalent to learning elementary school mathematics in his previous life. Before reaching minor achievement, it was like learning middle school mathematics in his previous life. But after minor achievement, trying to cultivate to major achievement suddenly became equivalent to learning advanced calculus. It was too difficult. For daoarts without spirit awakening, once their proficiency reached minor achievement, it was truly difficult for him to improve further. Despite having the Cloud Sea Heaven observation technique constantly providing guidance, the proficiency of 10,000 B spirit communication remained stuck at minor achievement. If cultivating to major achievement on his own was already this difficult, if he were to cultivate a top-tier daoart to perfection by himself, wouldn't the difficulty be equivalent to asking his past self to build an atomic bomb by hand? No wonder so few people could condense a Tao seal when it came to daoarts. Relying on the system to bring one daoart after another to perfection had given him the illusion that daoarts were easy to learn. Now he had finally recognized reality. The reality was that he still had to use cheats. On this day, the Ascension ceremony was about to begin. To prevent Chen Xian from missing it, Senior Brother Zhang came to Chen Xian's immortal cave to call him before the bell rang. After picking up Chen Xian, the two of them headed to the sect plaza. The sect plaza of the God Sea Stars Cloud Sea sect was much larger and more grand than the one on Qingyan Star. At this moment, many cultivators were gathered at the sect plaza, and many more were rushing over. As the Yunhai bell rang, the plaza was already packed with cultivators. Those with weaker strength could only stay in the air on the periphery. The scene was far more massive than that of the Qingyan Star's Cloud Sea sect. Once everyone had arrived, they waited for the arrival of the Holy Land cultivators. After waiting for an unknown amount of time, a world-crossing boat appeared in the sky above the Cloud Sea sect. The flying boat came to a steady stop, and 15 figures flew down from it. The number of people was a few more than the group God Sea Star had sent to Qingyan Star. The cultivation levels of these 15 people were also more powerful, each with an aura as deep as the ocean. The three leading figures had profound Tao charm surrounding them. They were 10th realm, Nirvana realm cultivators. The three people following closely behind had powerful auras, with the meaning of the cycle of life and death faintly appearing. They were 9th realm life and death realm cultivators. Another three people exuded a kind of profound mystery. They were 8th realm, Tongxian realm cultivators. The final 6 people consisted of 3 7th realm, Cave Heaven realm cultivators, and 3 6th realm Dharma, idol realm cultivators. The people from the Holy Land had arrived, and the ascension ceremony was about to begin. The newcomers and the high-level members of the God Sea Stars Cloud Sea sect were all chatting pleasantly. It seemed that not only did God Sea Star choose people from the lower realm when sending people there, but the Holy Land did the same when sending people to the medium-level main life stars. On the plaza, after the high-level members of the God Sea Stars Cloud Sea sect and the Holy Land disciples chatted for a while, those Holy Land disciples all showed looks of surprise and then turned their gazes toward Chun Xian in the crowd. Clearly, they were talking about Chun Xian. However, their gazes were quickly withdrawn. Immediately after, the high-level members of the God Sea Stars Cloud Sea sect announced the start of the ascension ceremony. The test content was identical to that of the lower realm. First was aptitude. If anyone possessed a divine body, they could pass the test directly. The test began, and several disciples with divine bodies walked out from the crowd. After the 10,000 out tablet test showed no issues, the first test was over. Following that, they seemed somewhat impatient to start the second test. Chun Xian suddenly felt as if the gazes and attention of many people were on him at this moment. Well, it wasn't just a feeling, it was a fact. Although he was surrounded by cultivators of the middle 5 realms, and he was just a small nascent soul, Chun Xian didn't feel stage fright and walked out of the crowd generously. I heard that you, junior brother Chun, do not have a divine body, yet you have cultivated the heavenly observation divine eye? A Nirvana realm cultivator from the Holy Land asked directly. In the Holy Land, even Nirvana realm cultivators were only disciples. The Holy Land was divided into outer and inner sects. Those in the lower 5 realms were outer sect disciples, and those in the middle 5 realms were inner sect disciples. As for core disciples, it did not depend on cultivation level. If one was taken in by an elder as a personal disciple, they would become a Holy Land core disciple. Cultivating to the upper 5 realms allows one to become an elder of the Holy Land. Back to the topic at hand. Upon hearing the words of that Nirvana cultivator, Chun Xian nodded and then activated the heavenly observation divine eye. The cultivators from the Holy Land observed closely. It was indeed the heavenly observation divine eye. Then, as expected, they had Chun Xian touch the 10,000 Tao tablet to test if he truly lacked a divine physique. In truth, it wouldn't have mattered if he had one. He would have passed the test either way. They were simply curious if someone could truly master the heavenly observation divine eye without a divine physique. The result was obvious. Chun Xian did not possess a divine physique and was merely a spirit physique cultivator. However, based on the heavenly observation divine eye, they directly announced that Chun Xian had passed the test. How could they not bring such an unprecedented genius to the Holy Land? After Chun Xian passed, the testing continued. The comprehension ability test was the same as it had been at the Cloud Sea sect on Qinyan Star. Candidates stepped forward to demonstrate, and Holy Land disciples judged whether they passed. Unless one's comprehension ability was truly exceptional, those who were just borderline had to rely somewhat on luck. After the comprehension ability test concluded, it was time for the strength test. In the lower realm, only Tao Foundation and Purple Mansion Cultivator could participate in the strength test. At the Cloud Sea sect on God Sea Star, only cultivators in the 4 realms of Dharma Image, Grotto-Heaven, Profound Understanding, and Life and Death participated. Time passed. Gradually, the ascension ceremony came to a complete end. A total of 79 people from God Sea Star passed the test. This was significantly more than the number who had passed from the Azure Cloud realm. They did not leave immediately after the testing was over. The Holy Land disciples gave Chun Xian and the others half a month to handle their affairs. Chun Xian had nothing much to settle. Although he had stayed at the Cloud Sea sect on God Sea Star for a year, he had spent almost all his time cultivating and barely knew anyone. Still, he couldn't just wait around for half a month doing nothing. Chun Xian decided to bid farewell to senior brother Zhang and the others. He also visited the Tower Guard Elder of the Dao Law Tower, as well as the Pavilion Elders of the Scripture Pavilions on Danshao Peak and Jade Firmament Peak. Afterward, he spent his time cultivating while waiting for the half-month to pass. When he had nothing else to do, he would play with Desheng. Desheng's cultivation speed was incredibly fast. After nearly a year, Desheng had completely caught up to his cultivation level, reaching the 5th rank. However, after Desheng's cultivation reached the 5th rank perfection, that terrifying cultivation speed came to a halt. Chun Xian wasn't surprised. It was said that cultivators with saintly physiques were the same. Their cultivation speed was incredibly fast during the lower 5 realms. But starting from the Dharma idol realm, their cultivation speed would slow down. Of course, it was only slow compared to their original speed. Compared to others, their cultivation speed was still very fast. However, there was a problem. Logically, once members of the Yao race reached the 5th rank, they should have been able to speak human language long ago. But Desheng had yet to say a single word. Even when conveying intentions through 10,000 B spirit communication, it wasn't very clear. If he hadn't seen that Desheng could cultivate normally, he would have suspected the creature had suffered brain damage before hatching. Or perhaps it was because it had only been a little over a year since hatching, and it was still too young. Chun Xian really couldn't figure out, and could only leave it for later. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. At the Sect Plaza, once all 79 people, including Chun Xian, had gathered, they were all taken onto the world-crossing boat by the Holy Land disciples. Soon, the world-crossing boat set off, leaving God Sea Star. On the way, the senior brothers from the Holy Land spoke to Chun Xian and the others. It would take a full month to travel from God Sea Star to the main planet of the primordial star field, Primordial Star. Don't think that's long. This was the time required even with a Nirvana cultivator controlling the world-crossing boat at its maximum speed. Without a world-crossing boat or a Nirvana cultivator to control it, it would take much longer. On the way to Primordial Star, the Holy Land disciples told them some things about Primordial Star. As a high-level main planet of life, Primordial Star's territory was extremely vast. The interior of the planet was like God Sea Star, with a massive continent in the center, surrounded by sea regions. The central continent was also divided into 5 regions. However, they weren't called the Eastern, Southern, Western, Northern, and Central regions, but rather the Eastern Desolation, Western Desert, Southern Ridge, Northern Plains, and Central Plains. Additionally, the sea regions of the primordial starfield were divided into the 4 seas: East, South, West, and North. Among the 4 seas and 5 regions of the primordial stars continent, the Eastern Desolation and Central Plains had the best cultivation environments. The Cloud Sea Holy Land was located in the Eastern Desolation. Besides the Cloud Sea Holy Land, there were 4 other great emperor forces in the Eastern Desolation. 2 of them were also holy lands, namely the Jinwu Holy Land and the Taishu Holy Land. The other 2 were emperor clans, the Shao family and the Gu family. Besides the distribution of great emperor forces on Primordial Star, the Holy Land disciples also told them about some matters within the Holy Land. There weren't any major issues within the Holy Land. Once they arrived at the Holy Land and passed verification, they would be assigned to various peaks and lineages, and they could focus on cultivating from then on. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. During this time, the world-crossing boat left the God Sea Star system and entered the interstellar space of the primordial starfield. Then, it headed straight toward the location of Primordial Star. During this month, Chun Xian hadn't been idle. Although his cultivation level hadn't increased, his 1,000 illusions shape-shifting had improved from minor achievement to major achievement. Dao methods that have undergone spirit awakening really do improve quickly. Without him needing to worry, it just practiced diligently on its own. On this day, the world-crossing boat arrived outside Primordial Star. Although they knew in advance that Primordial Star was massive, over 10 times the size of God's Sea Star, they were still struck with awe upon seeing the colossal planet before them. Chun Xian and the others stood on the deck, looking at the scenery outside. The flying boat also entered Primordial Star directly. As a high-level main planet, it actually had no world barrier. After all, destroying a high-level main planet was no easy task. As the world-crossing boat entered Primordial Star, it headed straight for the Eastern Desolation. The Eastern Desolation was vast. It would take some time for the flying boat to reach the Cloud Sea Holy Land. From the moment he entered Primordial Star, Chun Xian personally felt how dense the heaven and earth spiritual chi of a high-level main planet was. The 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture was already eager to cultivate. After some time, the world-crossing boat slowly landed before a massive mountain range in the Eastern Desolation, shrouded in spiritual chi and mist. The continuous mountain range towered majestically, piercing into the clouds. Between the peaks was a vast, seemingly frozen white sea of clouds. This sea of clouds was no ordinary mist, but the condensation of the most refined spiritual chi and heaven and earth Tao rhyme. Rays of light shimmered within, and the illusory figures of immortal birds and strange beasts occasionally churned through the clouds, letting out clear, resonant cries. Deep within the mountain range, 10 main peaks were the most prominent, with the Cloud Sea Peak at the very front. They pierced through the sea of clouds like pillars holding up the sky, standing in a profound and mysterious formation. Upon the mountain peaks, palaces and pavilions stood in clusters, their glazed tiles shimmering with a warm luster under the reflection of the mist and sky, with carved beams and painted rafters, flying eaves and bracket sets. The aura was both grand and ancient. One could faintly see streaks of light, like rainbows shuttling between the peaks, and the ethereal sounds of Tao music could be heard, cleansing the soul. Junior brothers and junior sisters, we have arrived. A Holy Land disciple said with a smile. As the world-crossing boat continued forward, passing through a soft yet resilient invisible barrier, a more dense heaven and earth spiritual chi rushed toward them, its purity and weight far exceeding that of the outside world. Chun Xian felt all the pores on his body open up, the spiritual power within him accelerating its circulation on its own, and even his divine sense felt a wave of comfort and clarity. The 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture became even more excited. As a country bumpkin from Qingyan Star, how could it have seen the heaven and earth spiritual chi within a holy land before? The spiritual chi here was so dense it had turned into a sea of clouds. Junior brothers and junior sisters, remember, there aren't many rules within the Holy Land, but there is one: private fighting is strictly forbidden. Under the surveillance of the sect-protecting Grand Array, any private fight will be discovered immediately, and once found, there will surely be severe punishment. We will first take you to complete the final verification and registration, and then you will be assigned to various peaks based on your circumstances. The Holy Land disciple cautioned them. Soon, the world-crossing boat finally stopped at the edge of an extremely wide square atop Cloud Sea Peak. The square was paved with some kind of white jade, smooth as a mirror, with 9 giant pillars engraved with cloud patterns and star maps standing at the edges, emitting a faint pressure. There were already some Holy Land disciples coming and going on the square. Their auras were long, and many had deep cultivation bases, including some whose presence made even Chun Xian feel pressure. Everyone disembarked from the flying boat. Let's go. The Holy Land disciple led them in a certain direction. Before long, the group arrived outside a great hall. This was the affairs hall of Cloud Sea Peak, where subsequent matters would be handled. There weren't many Holy Land disciples inside the affairs hall. After everyone entered, they only saw a few disciples who belonged to the affairs hall itself. Junior brothers, could I trouble you to call Hall Master Zhang over? The Holy Land disciple who had brought Chun Xian and the others overcupped his hands to the affairs hall disciples. Senior brother, please wait a moment. One person replied, and immediately went to call him. In a short while, the hall master of the affairs hall arrived. This hall master was a sub-saint. Although he was only an 11th realm sub-saint, once one's cultivation reached the upper 5 realms, they were worlds apart from Nirvana realm cultivators. Greetings, Elder. This is the information for the batch of disciples from God Sea Star who passed the Ascension ceremony. The Holy Land disciple who brought Chen Xian and the other said while cupping his hands, then handed over a jade slip. MHM, thank you for your hard work. The Affairs Hall Master took the jade slip with a smile. After a sweep of his divine sense, his expression froze. Immediately afterward, his gaze swept across and locked onto Chen Xian. Chen Xian's personal information recorded that he possessed a purple essence spirit body. He was a sub-saint after all. With just a simple glance, and without careful investigation, he could see that Chen Xian possessed a purple essence spirit body. You must be Chen Xian, right? Did you truly cultivate the heavenly observation divine eye? The Affairs Hall Master asked. Chen Xian cupped his hands and replied, Yes, Hall Master. After saying that, Chen Xian manifested the heavenly observation divine eye. Strange, truly strange. To think a mere spirit body could actually cultivate the heavenly observation divine eye. Please wait for a moment while I arrange things for the others first. The Affairs Hall Master said after clicking his tongue in wonder. Chen Xian nodded in response and said nothing. Next, the Affairs Hall Master began to attend to official business. Based on the information of the others, he began to assign their affiliations. The allocation was quite simple. For example, whichever peak they belonged to in the lower realm, they would likely be assigned to the same peak in the Holy Land. However, there were exceptions. For instance, if a disciple had an extremely outstanding talent for alchemy, but did not belong to Danshao Peak in the lower realm, they would naturally be assigned to Danshao Peak in the Holy Land to allow them to make the most of their advantages. Chen Xian was now a special case, and an extremely special one at that. After the Affairs Hall finished assigning the others, the disciples who had brought them to the Holy Land led them away. Soon, only Chen Xian remained in the Affairs Hall. Follow me, the Affairs Hall Master said, walking outside. Chen Xian followed closely behind. After leaving the Affairs Hall, the other party led Chen Xian toward the main hall of Cloud Sea Peak. On the way, the Affairs Hall Master said, Your situation is a first for me as well. It's really hard to say where you should be assigned. I might as well take you to see the Holy Lord and let her decide. The Holy Lord of our Cloud Sea Holy Land is a woman. When you see her later, do not lose your composure. The Affairs Hall Master gave Chen Xian a special instruction. Yes, this disciple understands. Chen Xian replied. Chen Xian was also somewhat looking forward to meeting the Holy Lord. It wasn't because the Hall Master of the Affairs Hall said the Holy Lord was a woman, but because he had previously learned some information about the Holy Lord of Cloud Sea Holy Land. The Holy Lord of Cloud Sea Holy Land was the only daughter of the Ancestral Master and a genuine Quasi-Emperor. The Holy Lords of other Holy Lands were also Quasi-Emperors. As for the great emperors of the various major forces, none of them were on Primordial Star. Chen Xian didn't know where they had gone, and the Holy Land disciples who brought him to Primordial Star didn't know either. Soon, the Affairs Hall Master brought Chen Xian to the main hall and met the Holy Lord of Cloud Sea Holy Land. Chen Xian and the Affairs Hall Master entered the hall. On the high platform at the front of the hall, a woman's figure slowly appeared. The woman wore a plain, white, flowing cloud dress. She was tall and slender, with black hair cascading like a waterfall, simply tied up with a plain jade hairpin. Her face was cold and exquisitely beautiful, her skin shining like white jade, and her eyes seemed to contain the myriad phenomena of the stars. When her gaze swept across, it felt as if she could see through all illusions. She only had to sit there, and a hazy aura of rosy clouds naturally flowed around her, resonating and blending with the spiritual chi of the entire hall, as if she were the center of the world. Greetings, Holy Lord. The Affairs Hall Master cupped his hands and called out. Chen Xian also immediately cupped his hands. Greetings, Holy Lord. Elder Zhang, what is the matter? Master Yun, she's somewhat cold voice rang out in the hall. The affairs hall master immediately spoke of Chun Xian's matter and handed the previous jade slip to Master Yin Shi. After hearing the affairs hall master's words, Master Yin Shi also felt some curiosity toward Chun Xian. The Cloud Sea Heaven observation technique was created by her father, so she had naturally cultivated it herself. Her father had once said that the heavenly observation divine eye ability of the Cloud Sea Heaven observation technique depends heavily on a cultivator's aptitude. Now, a disciple had actually appeared who could successfully cultivate it with only a spirit body. Master Yin Shi's gaze fell upon Chun Xian, although she did not use her divine sense to investigate carefully. However, Chun Xian felt as if he were being seen through. Master Yin Shi confirmed once more. She indeed found no issues with Chun Xian's physique. It was indeed just a spirit body. However, Chun Xian's spirit body did not seem to be an innate body. Master Yun, she became somewhat surprised. She wasn't surprised by an acquired physique. The Holy Land had similar methods. What surprised her was that if Chun Xian's spirit body was acquired, then he was originally just a mortal body cultivator. That is to say, there was a possibility that Chun Xian had cultivated the heavenly observation divine while he still had a mortal body. If that were truly the case, it was almost unimaginable. Master Yin Shi immediately asked, Chun Xian, was your spirit body obtained as an acquired one? Hearing this question, Chun Xian nodded. This disciple obtained a top-tier Dao art in the Azure Cloud realm and formed the purple essence spirit body through its cultivation. As Chun Xian spoke, he explained the purple chi from the East Dao art in great detail. He had no intention of hiding anything. The Hallmaster of Affairs was also somewhat surprised upon hearing this. While he had seen acquired physiques before, he hadn't expected Chun Xian to obtain an acquired spirit body purely through cultivating a Dao art. This was no simple feat. Most methods of obtaining acquired physiques within the Hunyuan world required the use of extremely precious heaven and earth treasures. Relying solely on one's own cultivation of a Dao art to develop a physique was far from easy. However, considering Chun Xian had even cultivated the heavenly observation divine eye, it didn't seem quite so shocking anymore. Master Yun, she nodded slightly after listening to Chun Xian, then asked the crucial question, So, did you cultivate your heavenly observation divine while you still had a mortal body, or after obtaining your spirit body? The Hall Master of Affairs understood Master Yin Shi's point and was startled, finding it somewhat hard to believe. Cultivating the heavenly observation divine eye with a mortal body? Could such a thing really be done? Chun Xian replied, Before I obtained the purple essence spirit body. Upon receiving Chun Xian's answer, both Master Yin Shi and the Hall Master of Affairs fell into silence. It truly was so. To cultivate the heavenly observation divine eye with a mortal body, this boy was far from simple. Elder Zhang, you may step down first, Master Yin Shi suddenly said, looking at the Hall Master of Affairs. The Hall Master of Affairs was briefly taken aback, then bowed and replied, Yes. Although he very much wanted to continue listening to the gossip, unfortunately, the Holy Lord had spoken, so he could only leave the main hall. Following the departure of the Hall Master of Affairs, Master Yun, she continued, Are you willing to speak in detail about your past? Of course, Holy Lord. Chun Xian agreed with a nod after less than a second of hesitation. He could talk about his past, as long as he didn't mention the system. Next, Chun Xian gave a detailed account of his history. He was young and hadn't been cultivating for long, so even with the details, it didn't take long to finish the story. Aside from concealing the system and the great sage, he had shared everything else that could be said. He didn't even hide one thought seals the heavens. If he were a loose cultivator or someone like that, he would naturally hide a supreme Dao technique as much as possible. But he was a core cultivator of the Holy Land. What was there to hide? It wasn't as if the Holy Land didn't have supreme Dao techniques. He had even considered exchanging one thought seals the heavens with the Holy Lord for one of the Holy Land's supreme Dao techniques. After listening, Master Yun, she said, Let me see those Dao arts of yours. Chun Xian then proceeded to demonstrate his Dao arts one by one. Flowing cloud myriad forms, flowing cloud moonchase, purple imperial dragon flame, and one thought seals the heavens. Additionally, he displayed the Dao seals for these 4 techniques, as well as the one for purple qi from the east. The more Master Yin she watched, the more shocked she became. Having cultivated for only about 10 years, he had reached perfection in 5 Dao arts and condensed their Dao seals. Among them, 4 were top-tier Dao arts, and 1 was even a supreme Dao technique. No wonder this boy could cultivate the heavenly observation divine eye with a mortal body. This comprehension ability simply far surpassed anyone she had ever met. She even felt that even her father might not be able to compare to Chun Xian in terms of comprehension ability. With Chun Xian's comprehension ability, if he received sufficient nurturing, he would have the potential to prove his Dao. As Master Yun, she thought about it. A desire to mentor such talent arose in her heart. The Cloud Sea Holy Land had to seize such a fine prospect and nurture him well. While Master Yun, she was deep in thought, Chun Xian didn't speak, quietly waiting for her instructions. After a long while, Master Yun, she looked at Chun Xian and asked, "Chun Xian, are you willing to take me as your master?" Chun Xian was briefly stunned upon hearing this, and then a wave of joy hit him. Disciple Chun Xian pays respects to Master. Chun Xian naturally wouldn't refuse such a good thing and immediately performed the ceremony of becoming a disciple. Although it didn't matter whether he had a master's guidance on his path of cultivation, that didn't mean he didn't want to become someone's disciple. After all, it would be for the best if he had a master to protect and assist him while he was still weak on his journey. In the Cloud Sea Holy Land, was there any bigger backer than Master Yin Shi? By becoming Master Yun Shi's disciple, even if the great sage were exposed, the Cloud Sea Holy Land would surely help him protect the great sage. Chun Xian was now part of the innermost circle of the Cloud Sea Holy Land's direct lineage. However, Chun Xian still had no intention of revealing the great sage for now. He would wait until his own strength was great enough. After all, he didn't actually know Master Yin Shi very well yet. So for the time being, no one besides himself could be fully trusted. Seeing Chun Xian accept her as his master, Master Yin, she was also in a good mood, and a small smile appeared on her cold face. "From today on, you're my 3rd disciple. You have 2 senior sisters who are currently away from the Holy Land. I will introduce you to them when they return." As Master Yin Shi spoke, she handed Chun Xian a token. It was an identity token representing Chun Xian's status as the Holy Lord's personal disciple. With this token, Chun Xian could later go to the Affairs Hall to collect his core disciple robes and other necessities. Immediately after, Master Yin, she took out several jade slips and handed them to Chun Xian. "As my personal disciple, I will provide you with cultivation techniques and Dao arts. However, as for your own cultivation resources, you will need to obtain those yourself." Master Yun, she spoke again. She didn't care how others raised their disciples. Her method was to provide her disciples with the best possible cultivation techniques, Dao arts, and guidance. But if a disciple needed cultivation resources, they had to find a way to get them on their own. She couldn't possibly prepare everything for her disciple as their master. If she did that, would she be taking in a disciple or a biological son? Blindly supporting them would only result in raising a waste who only had cultivation level, but no real ability. Since Master Yun, she had taken him as a disciple, she thought highly of him and hoped he would have the chance to prove his Dao. But she had to admit that a cultivator who had never experienced any hardships would find it difficult to go far in the upper 5 realms, let alone prove their Dao. Master Yun, she thought through the great emperors she knew. Even those from extraordinary backgrounds had undergone plenty of trials. Regardless of their origins, the path for those who proved their Dao and became emperors was never easy. That was why she had established such a nurturing strategy. She couldn't be certain her strategy was perfectly correct, but she felt that it would at least ensure she didn't raise a useless person. Chun Xian took the jade slips and looked at them curiously. The complete volumes of the 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture, the complete volumes of the Cloud Sea Heaven Observation Technique, and the complete volumes of the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art. Of course, the complete volumes of the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art did not include the missing 5th volume. There were only 4 volumes. In addition to those, there were 5 supreme Dao techniques. They were the higher-tier Dao arts for flowing cloud myriad forms, flowing cloud moonchase, 1,000 illusions, shape-shifting, 5 elements divine sword, and destruction thunderlight, respectively. These 5 Dao arts were also the ones stored within the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Publicly, the Cloud Sea Holy Land only possessed these 5 supreme Dao techniques. Chun Xian's eyes widened as he looked at them. He hadn't expected that the issue of his subsequent cultivation techniques would be solved all at once, and he had even obtained 5 supreme Dao techniques in one go. This discipleship was not a loss. With a powerful backer, his cultivation techniques and Dao arts were all sorted out at once. As for not providing cultivation resources, so be it. He could obtain them himself through alchemy. Besides, cultivation techniques and Dao arts were also resources. Master Yin, she just wasn't giving him medicinal pills or spiritual items to increase his cultivation. Thank you, Master. Chun Xian bowed with cupped hands and thanked her. Follow me. I will arrange an immortal cave for you. Master Yun, she stood up and said. Immediately after, Chun Xian followed Master Yun, she out of the main hall. In the blink of an eye, Master Yun, she led Chun Xian to a spot not far from Mountain Peak. This peak was the main peak where she resided and the location of her immortal cave. This peak towered majestically, reaching straight into the clouds. Its summit was shrouded in perpetual spiritual mist, with glowing rays of light flowing through it, blending seamlessly with the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual chi, like a fairyland. Surrounding the main peak were several slightly lower auxiliary peaks, like stars surrounding the moon. Although called auxiliary peaks, the purity and density of the spiritual chi here far exceeded the ordinary. Spiritual springs gurgled between the peaks, and rare flowers and exotic grasses were everywhere. Every breath was refreshing. Master Yun, she pointed to 2 auxiliary peaks. Your eldest senior sister and second senior sister's immortal caves are on those 2 auxiliary peaks. You may choose any of the remaining auxiliary peaks as your immortal cave. If you do not wish to live here, you may also find another place within the Holy Land on your own. After activating the Heavenly Observation Divine Eye, Chun Xian could perceive exactly how dense the spiritual chi in this place was. Naturally, Chun Xian didn't want to pass up a good place for a worse one. It was just, would being so close to Master Yin, she be a bit inconvenient? He worried about what would happen if Master Yin, she happened to look into his immortal cave one day and saw a great sage. However, if Master Yin she truly wanted to look, she would be able to see even if he were far away. After all, Master Yin she was a Quasi-Emperor. So, it was better to choose a place with a superior cultivation environment. Master, I'll choose that peak. After some thought, Chun Xian made his decision and chose the peak with the best spiritual chi. There are ready-made courtyards on several of the auxiliary peaks. You can move in directly. This is the token for controlling the Immortal Caves formation. Master Yun, she took out the token for the auxiliary peak Chun Xian had chosen and handed it to him. Well, another token. Chun Xian accepted it obediently. Next, Master Yun, she took Chun Xian to the affairs hall. With her presence, Elder Zhang quickly completed the formalities for Chun Xian to join the Holy Land. Chun Xian also received some basic uniforms and such. The core disciple's clothing was not simple. It was a spirit treasure with many wonderful uses. After finishing the necessary business, Master Yun, she returned to her immortal cave to cultivate. Chun Xian also returned to what would be his immortal cave from then on. Stepping onto the auxiliary peak, Chun Xian soon entered courtyard. The courtyard was very large, resembling a grand garden. There were also many rooms. Chun Xian didn't need so many rooms. Chun Xian took a tour of the immortal cave. It was quite good. He then arranged some of his belongings in the immortal cave and activated the cave's formation. The formation's primary purpose was to isolate external probes and sounds. After all, being a formation within an immortal cave, its main role was that of a front door. Chen Xian just didn't know if this formation could block the probes of upper five realms cultivators. Being in the Holy Land, surely no elder would be so idle as to probe around aimlessly. Furthermore, this was an auxiliary peak of Master Yun Shi's immortal cave. Aside from Master Yun Shi, no one would likely dare to probe recklessly. So as long as Master Yun Shi didn't probe his cave for no reason, he shouldn't be spied on. Chen Xian thought for a moment and then began to set up restrictions on the immortal cave and the formation. With his strength, even if the restrictions couldn't completely block a Quasi-Emperor's probe, he could at least detect it the moment it happened. That would be enough. As long as he could sense it, he could quickly put away anything that shouldn't be exposed. Chen Xian spent some effort and completed the setup of the restrictions. Looking at the densely packed restrictions he had set up, Chen Xian nodded with a satisfied smile. This will do. Chen Xian quickly returned to the cultivation room. He prepared to cultivate properly. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Chen Xian recalled today's events. He remembered one thing. Master Yin, she didn't seem to have any intention of asking him for one thought seals the heavens. This was just as well, since he had already obtained the supreme Dao techniques of the Cloud Sea Holy Land. He naturally didn't want to sell one thought seals the heavens. Next, Chen Xian examined several jade slips. After his divine sense probed into them, a light screen appeared. Your cultivation technique, 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture, is viewing the complete technique and completing itself. Your cultivation technique, Cloud Sea Heaven Observation Technique, is viewing the complete technique and completing itself. Your cultivation technique, Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art, is viewing the subsequent technique and completing itself. Your Dao Art Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms is viewing its higher tier Dao Art and completing itself. Your Dao Art Flowing Cloud Moonchase is viewing its higher tier Dao Art and completing itself. Your Dao Art Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting is viewing its higher tier Dao Art and completing itself. Chen Xian wasn't surprised to see the prompts popping up on the light screen. Back then, Flowing Cloud Moonstep was able to perfect and elevate itself to a top-tier Dao Art through a Dao intent map of Flowing Cloud Moonchase. Now that he had the complete Dao Arts, these 3 Dao Arts would surely be able to elevate themselves to the supreme level. The same logic applied to cultivation techniques. Since Flowing Cloud Art could be completed and perfected into the 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture, it could naturally continue to complete the subsequent techniques. This way, it wouldn't require more spirit awakening points. If the subsequent techniques and Dao Arts all required new spirit awakening points, his spirit awakening points would truly be insufficient. Soon, the cultivation techniques were all completed. The Dao Arts also gradually advanced to supreme Dao techniques. Your Dao Art Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms has advanced to creation returning to truth. Your Dao Art Flowing Cloud Moonchase has advanced to shadowless and traceless. Your Dao Art Thousand Illusions Shape-Shifting has advanced to 1,000 transformations. Creation returning to truth. This was the name of the higher tier Dao Art of Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms. The origin of this name was related to the Dao Arts effects. The effect of Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms went without saying, using spiritual power and cloud chi to transform into all things to handle various scenarios. Creation returning to truth was even more powerful in this regard. Furthermore, after consuming spiritual power, creation returning to truth could even directly condense real objects. For example, Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms could only transform into a chain through spiritual power and cloud chi. But creation returning to truth could directly condense a truly existing chain, a real object that would not disappear even without spiritual power support. In other words, creating something from nothing. Of course, this required a tremendous amount of spiritual power and could only condense mundane items. But the ability to create something from nothing alone proved the excellence of this Dao Art. One could even arrogantly say it was a minor mediation of creation divine ability. As for shadowless and traceless, it was named so because once this Tao art was cast, just as the name suggested, one would be shadowless and traceless. When cultivated to a certain level, one could even achieve teleportation even if their cultivation hadn't reached the upper 5 realms. One must understand that only when a cultivator reaches the sub-saint realm can they achieve methods such as teleportation and tearing through space. There is no need to say more about the final 1,000 transformations art, as it was mentioned previously. Each supreme Tao technique has its own extraordinary qualities. I must cultivate quickly. After these 3 Tao arts were completed, their proficiency did not start from 0. Instead, the proficiency of the 3 Tao arts merely dropped to minor achievement. Of course, although the proficiency of the 3 supreme Tao techniques dropped to minor achievement, the proficiency of flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase remained at perfection. The Tao seals for flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase did not disappear either. Chun Xian could condense them at any time. However, once these 3 supreme Tao techniques reach perfection, the Tao seals of flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase will be directly replaced by the Tao seals of creation returning to truth and shadowless and traceless. This is not a bad thing. After all, creation returning to truth and shadowless and traceless are the superior Tao arts of flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase. At that time, any ability the flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase Tao seals possessed, the creation returning to truth and shadowless and traceless Tao seals will also have. And abilities that the flowing cloud myriad forms and flowing cloud moonchase Tao seals lacked, the creation returning to truth and shadowless and traceless Tao seals will possess. As his cultivation techniques and Tao arts were completed, Chun Xian began his secluded cultivation. First, the batch of medicinal pills for increasing cultivation base that he had refined on Godseed Star had not been used up yet. Chun Xian slowly began to consume the medicinal pills. His 3 major cultivation techniques operated on their own, quickly converting the medicinal pills into Chun Xian's cultivation base. The cultivation environment here was much better than on Godseed Star. In less than a year, Chun Xian would likely be able to reach Nascent soul perfection. At the same time, Chun Xian also began to cultivate his Tao arts. 5 elements, Divine Sword and Destruction Thunderlight, had not undergone Spirit Awakening, so Chun Xian had to self-study their superior Tao arts. The superior Tao art of the 5 elements Divine Sword is called the 5 elements Divine Light. Not only is its power astonishing, but it also extremely counters anything of the 5 elements. Things like 5 elements Tao arts, 5 elements divine abilities, and even 5 elements magic treasures will all be countered by it. Of course, Tao arts are not omnipotent. The specific degree of countering still depends on the cultivation base of both parties. The superior Tao art of Destruction Thunderlight is called Nirvana Divine Thunder. The power of this thunder is even greater than Destruction Thunderlight, and it is already extremely powerful when cast alone. In addition, this thunder can be paired with magic treasures to achieve an effect similar to enchantment. If used in combination with Chun Xian's lifebound treasure, the 9 Heaven Sword, the power the two could unleash would be truly terrifying. During the time Chun Xian was in secluded cultivation, his name quickly spread throughout the Holy Land. Coming from the lower realm, originally a mortal body cultivator, he cultivated the heavenly observation divine I with a mortal body, later self-cultivated a spiritual body through Tao arts, and then came to the Holy Land after the Ascension ceremony to be taken in as a personal disciple by the Holy Lord. Good heavens, anyone hearing this would be dazed for a moment. Not to mention the disciples within the Holy Land. Even some elders were discussing him, extremely curious about this person, Chun Xian. It was just a pity that Chun Xian had been in secluded cultivation ever since he entered his immortal cave. No matter how curious the people of the Holy Land were, it was useless. However, Chun Xian's name was indeed remembered by everyone throughout the Holy Land. Furthermore, within the primordial starfield, The ascension ceremonies of other medium-sized primary stars had also concluded one after another, and the world-crossing boats were returning to the Cloud Sea Holy Land. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. Chun Xian's secluded cultivation lasted for an entire year. Over the year, Chun Xian's cultivation base, physical body, and divine sense all reached nascent soul perfection. Creation returning to truth, shadowless and traceless, and thousand transformations also reach perfection through self-cultivation, condensing their Tao seals. As for the 5 elements divine light and Nirvana divine thunder, he was self-studying. He stopped practicing them after reaching initial mastery. He had long realized that his own cultivation was too slow. He might as well wait until his cultivation base broke through and then use spirit awakening points for spirit awakening. Therefore, during this year, he mainly focused on cultivating 10,000 B spirit communication. Because his spirit awakening points were limited, he did not plan to use them for the top-tier daoart level 10,000 B spirit communication, so he could only cultivate it more himself. However, after another year, the proficiency of 10,000 B spirit communication was still only at minor achievement. On this day, just as Chun Xian was preparing to end his seclusion, he found a jade tablet condensed within the courtyard. This jade tablet is automatically generated by the Grand Array when someone looks for him, and it can also store voice messages. The sudden condensation of the jade tablet meant that someone was outside right now. Chun Xian extended his divine sense outside the immortal cave. While those outside could not probe within, Chun Xian could probe the situation outside the immortal cave from the inside. Chun Xian saw a woman standing outside. This woman was very beautiful, with a pair of bright almond eyes and skin like cream. Her hair was tied high with a red cord, her ponytail hanging down to her waist. At the same time, Chun Xian's divine sense touched the jade tablet. The woman's voice came from the jade tablet. Junior brother, I am your second senior sister, Xia Ruyan. Xia Ruyan's voice was somewhat sweet, completely different from Master Yunxi's cold and detached tone. Second senior sister. Chun Xian was slightly stunned for a moment. Then he opened the formation. Outside the formation, Xia Ruyan saw the formation open and looked delighted, poking her head in with a curious expression. Ever since she returned to the sect and heard that her master had taken another disciple, she had been incredibly curious. She didn't even return to her own immortal cave, rushing over immediately to meet her junior brother. After the main gate opened, Xia Ruyan finally saw Chun Xian. Chun Xian cupped his hands and called out, "Greetings, senior sister." Xia Ruyan arrived in front of Chun Xian in a flash. Her eyes scrutinized Chun Xian thoroughly from top to bottom, left to right. Then she smiled and reached out to pat Chun Xian's shoulder. Not bad, not bad. With an extraordinary appearance and good temperament, she was very satisfied with this junior brother. Chun Xian, however, was a bit dazed at the moment. Xia Ruyan's smile always gave Chun Xian the impression that she was a bit of a happy-go-lucky person. But that was fine. She seemed quite easy to get along with. As long as she was easy to get along with, it was enough. Senior sister, you are here for? Chun Xian spoke up and asked. It's nothing. I'm just very happy. After all these years, I finally have a junior brother too. Xia Ruyan said happily. Although new disciples were always entering the Holy Land, and she didn't lack junior brothers or sisters, the junior brothers and sisters in the Holy Land could not be compared to a disciple taken in by Master Yunxi. People have their own circles of closeness, and cultivators are no exception. Senior sister, how about we go inside to chat? Sure. Xia Ruyan nodded in response, and strode toward Chun Xian's immortal cave. Chun Xian followed. The two of them soon sat down under a pavilion in the courtyard, and Chun Xian poured a cup of tea for Xia Ruyan. Xia Ruyan began chatting with Chun Xian very enthusiastically. It was mostly her talking about some trivial matters after she joined the master's tutelage. After chatting for a while, even though Chun Xian hadn't spoken much, he gained a deep understanding of this second senior sister, as well as the eldest senior sister and their master. Having such an enthusiastic and somewhat carefree senior sister was actually quite nice. Furthermore, Chun Xian also hadn't expected that this second senior sister of his was already a Nirvana realm cultivator. The eldest senior sister had even reached the saint realm, which is above the sub-saint level. Although the second senior sister was a bit behind their master and the eldest senior sister, she was also about to reach the upper 5 realms. 2 more powerful thighs to cling to. After Xia Rian finished chatting about some trivial matters, she soon shifted the conversation to cultivation. Junior brother, since you come from the lower realm, have you heard of the myriad lost secret realm? Xia Rian suddenly asked. Chun Xian was momentarily stunned upon hearing this, then shook his head. Senior sister, is there something special about this secret realm? I guess you might not know. It's a good thing you weren't in a hurry to break through. The myriad lost secret realm is a treasure land that can help cultivators condense their Dharma idols. Across the 4 seas and 5 regions of the entire primordial star, there is only one myriad law secret realm in each. I'll take you there later, Xia Rian said with a smile. After listening, Chun Xian asked curiously, to break through to the Dharma idol realm, doesn't one only need a single 4-vein spiritual item to break through directly? You can indeed break through directly, but if you only use a spiritual item to break through directly, you can only condense a single Dharma idol seed. However, if you break through within the myriad lost secret realm, you can borrow the power of the secret realm to condense multiple Dharma idol seeds at once. Xia Rian immediately explained to Chun Xian exactly what the function of the myriad lost secret realm was. When a cultivator reaches the Dharma idol realm, they need to rely on their own cultivation technique or Taoist methods to cultivate a corresponding Dharma idol. The essence of a Dharma idol is another manifestation of one's cultivation technique and Taoist methods. Therefore, the power of a Dharma idol is not only related to the cultivator's spiritual power, but is also linked to their cultivation technique and Taoist methods. A Dharma idol realm cultivator needs to cultivate 9 Dharma idols in this realm. Cultivating the first 3 Dharma idols is the Dharma idol early stage. Cultivating the middle 3 is the Dharma idol middle stage. And cultivating the final 3 is the Dharma idol late stage. Once all 9 Dharma idols are completed, it is Dharma idol perfection. Under normal circumstances, a Dharma idol realm cultivator condenses 1 Dharma image seed after their breakthrough and then cultivates slowly, using spiritual power to catalyze the Dharma image seed until it becomes a complete Dharma idol. After cultivating it into a complete Dharma idol, they can then condense a second Dharma image seed, and so on, until they have cultivated all 9 to perfection. However, if one takes a trip to the myriad lost secret realm and breaks through there, the situation is completely different. The myriad lost secret realm has a mysterious power that allows a nascent soul realm cultivator to condense multiple Dharma image seeds during their breakthrough. If one can condense multiple Dharma image seeds, it can greatly save cultivation time in the Dharma idol realm. Of course, based on the personal experiences of countless people, even if one condenses 9 Dharma image seeds at once, it is impossible to catalyze or cultivate all 9 seeds simultaneously. At most, one can catalyze 3 Dharma image seeds at the same time. When catalyzing multiple Dharma image seeds, the spiritual power required for cultivation is almost the same as catalyzing a single one. Therefore, if Chun Xian were to condense 9 Dharma image seeds by the time he reached Dharma idol perfection, someone who followed the normal cultivation path would have only finished their 3rd Dharma idol. Chun Xian was surprised to hear this. He hadn't expected the primordial star to have such a treasure land that could accelerate a cultivator's cultivation speed. Senior sister, if one breaks through in the myriad lost secret realm, what determines the number of Dharma image seeds condensed at once? Is it aptitude? Chun Xian asked thoughtfully after hearing Xia Rian's words. Yes, it has something to do with aptitude, but it's also related to comprehension ability, as well as the compatibility and mastery of your Taoist methods and cultivation technique. Junior brother, although your aptitude isn't great right now, I've heard that your comprehension ability is excellent. You even cultivated the heavenly observation divine eye, so you must be quite capable in some Taoist methods. So if you go to the myriad lost secret realm, you'll definitely be able to condense multiple Taoist seeds at once. Xiao Ruyan had great confidence in Chun Xian. For a mortal body to cultivate the heavenly observation divine eye, Chun Xian's mastery of cultivation techniques and Taoist methods was certainly not low. If he were to break through on his own, it would be too great a loss. It was best to make a trip to the myriad lost secret realm. In fact, even if Xiao Ruyan hadn't come to tell Chun Xian about the myriad lost secret realm, Master Yin, she would have found an opportunity to mention it to him. It was just that Chun Xian had been in seclusion ever since arriving at the sect, so Master Yin she hadn't had the chance. She had been keeping an eye on Chun Xian's immortal cave, planning to tell him once he emerged. As for why she hadn't mentioned it from the start, it was mainly because Chun Xian was only at the nascent soul middle stage at the time. She never would have imagined that Chun Xian would reach nascent soul perfection after only 1 year of seclusion. So, if Chun Xian really had broken through to the Dharma idol realm within that year, there would have been no helping it. It could only be considered Chun Xian's bad luck. Regardless, it wouldn't have had a major impact on his cultivation. The myriad lost secret realm simply saved time for Dharma idol realm cultivators. Fortunately, Chun Xian hadn't broken through yet. Chun Xian was quite interested in anything that could save cultivation time. It was just a pity Desheng had already broken through to the Dharma idol realm on his own. Forget it, Desheng possessed a sacred beast bloodline and emperor blood. His cultivation speed was already incredibly fast. Senior sister, where is the myriad lost secret realm? Chun Xian asked again. The myriad lost secret realm can be entered at any time. Just let me know when you're ready, and I'll take you there directly. I don't have anything else to do lately anyway, Xiao Ruyan said, patting her somewhat flat chest. Senior sister, wouldn't that be a bother for you? What's there to be bothered about? Don't be so polite with me. We're both master's disciples, so we're family. I see. Then thank you, senior sister. Chun Xian thanked her with a smile. The two then discussed when Chun Xian should head to the myriad lost secret realm. Chun Xian felt that there was no time like the present. Since his cultivation had already reached nascent soul perfection, it was better to break through as soon as possible. How about right now? Chun Xian said after some thought. Sure, let's go then. Xiao Ruyan stood up immediately, ready to set off. Chun Xian didn't dawdle either and followed her directly. The two walked out of the immortal cave, and Xiao Ruyan took out a flying boat spirit treasure. It wasn't the world-crossing boat, but it was still quite extraordinary. Although Chun Xian's current cultivation was still shallow, after improving his alchemy and artifact refining skills, he still had a good eye. This flying boat was also a peak-grade spirit treasure, and it seemed to emphasize speed. Junior brother, come on up. Xiao Ruyan gestured for Chun Xian to board the flying boat. Chun Xian leaped up and landed on the flying boat. We're off. As Xiao Ruyan spoke, she was about to activate the flying boat. Suddenly, Master Yin Shi's figure appeared directly on the flying boat. Master! Xiao Ruyan was startled. You didn't even think to come see me after you returned. Master Yin Shi said, looking at Xiao Ruyan. Xiao Ruyan chuckled. I heard about Junior brother and wanted to come see him first. Master Yin Shi reached out and gave Xiao Ruyan a gentle tap on the head. Then, Master Yin Shi looked toward Chun Xian. Chun Xian also called out, Master, I didn't expect you to reach nascent soul perfection so quickly. I assume you're heading to the myriad lost secret realm? That saves me the trouble of explaining it. With Ruyan taking you there shouldn't be any accidents on the way. However, your eldest senior sister and second senior sister both received a Dao protection talisman from me, and you will naturally be no exception. As Master Yun Shi spoke, she took out a golden talisman, which emitted a hint of terrifying aura. Carry this talisman with you. If you encounter a life-threatening danger, it will activate on its own. The talisman contains some of my power. As long as you don't run into a Quasi-Emperor, it can help you turn danger into safety. Master Yun, she spoke once more. Huh, this is that powerful? Good. My safety has increased significantly again. Thank you, Master. Chunxian thanked her with a smile and then put away the protective talisman. Have you prepared the spiritual items for your breakthrough? Master Yun, she suddenly asked again. To break through from nascent soul to the Dharma idol realm, one needs the help of a four-vein spiritual item. Chunxian nodded. I've prepared them. Naturally, the spiritual items were ready. Although the dozens of spiritual items obtained from that ruin on Qingyan Star were only one-vein to three-veined items, he had seen four-veined spiritual items in the market on Godsea Star before. He had spent a lot of spirit stones and sold many things to buy two of them. De Sheng had already used one, and he had one left. Once you return from a myriad lost secret realm with your junior brother, cultivate properly. Master Yun, she nodded slightly, then looked at Xia Ruyan and spoke. Xia Ruyan was already at Nirvana perfection and was currently pushing for the sub-saint realm. Although breaking through from the Nirvana realm to the sub-saint realm was no easy feat, Xia Ruyan was a genuine saint physique cultivator to have been taken in as a disciple by Master Yin Shi. Therefore, breaking through to sub-saint was not considered too difficult for her. However, Xia Ruyan's personality was a bit wild. She had been at Nirvana perfection for some time, but had yet to break through. That was why Master Yun, she said those words to her. Xia Ruyan stuck out her tongue. Master, I understand. Master Yun, she nodded slightly, and then left the flying boat. Phew, Master is finally gone. I was really afraid she'd drag me off to secluded meditation. Luckily you're here, junior brother. Let's hurry up and go. Xia Ruyan breathed a sigh of relief and spoke happily. As she spoke, Xia Ruyan had already activated the flying boat, speeding off in one direction. Once the flying boat was running, Xia Ruyan did not need to control it constantly. As a spirit treasure, it already possessed a fair amount of spirituality and could navigate itself. Junior brother, follow me. Xia Ruyan led Chun Xian into the middle of the flying boat. The interior of Xia Ruyan's flying boat was extremely luxuriously decorated. The floor was covered with spiritual carpets that felt as soft as clouds when stepped upon, allowing for silent movement. White jade pillars stood on both sides, their bodies carved with coiled dragons, entwined phoenixes, and mountain sea spiritual patterns. Faint glimmers of light flowed between the patterns, concealing the faint glow of formations. The entire interior of the boat featured carved beams and jade structures surrounded by spiritual radiance. It possessed both the ethereal, refined style of an immortal's home and the majestic aura of a great immortal sect. Sitting within it felt like being in a cloud-top immortal palace, transcending all worldly affairs. The two of them sat down in the main hall. Senior sister, tell me more about the situation in the myriad lost secret realm. Is there anything else I should pay attention to? Chunxian looked at Xia Ruyan and asked. Sure. Xia Ruyan nodded in agreement. After thinking for a moment, Xia Ruyan said, I'll first tell you about the location of the myriad lost secret realm. Our eastern wilderness is divided into territories by kingdoms. There are dozens of kingdoms, large and small, in the eastern wilderness. I have a map of the eastern wilderness here. Take a look, junior brother. Here is our holy land, and the myriad lost secret realm is located in this Qianxin kingdom. As Xia Ruyan spoke, she took out a massive map. The map floated in midair as Xia Ruyan pointed out the location of the myriad lost secret realm relative to the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Chun Xian carefully studied the map. In the entire eastern wilderness, there were a total of 5 great emperor forces. The Cloud Sea Holy Land was located roughly in the eastern part of the eastern wilderness. The Jinwu Holy Land was roughly in the center. The Taishu Holy Land was in the west, the Shao family was in the south, and the Gu family was in the north. The 5 major forces were all very far apart. The Tianxin Kingdom, where the myriad lost secret realm was located, was between the Jinwu Holy Land and the Taishu Holy Land. Only cultivators at or below the Dharma idol realm can enter the myriad lost secret realm. Although many cultivators have been entering and leaving, most are at nascent soul perfection coming to break through, and they leave after doing so. After all, besides helping a cultivator condense multiple Dharma image seeds at once, this secret realm has no other use. So, junior brother, You don't need to worry about encountering enemies that are too strong. Moreover, given your status, normally no one would dare to make a move against you. If you really do run into some reckless fool you can't beat, you still have Master's protective talisman. Xia Ruyan told Chunxian a bit more about the myriad lost secret realm. In short, the message was that this trip would be quite safe. Conflicts rarely occurred within the myriad lost secret realm. Since there were no other resources in the secret realm, there were fewer instances of fighting over opportunities. When fights did happen, it was usually because the two parties already had a prior grudge. Chunxian had only been on the primordial star for a year, so he certainly hadn't made any enemies, meaning there was basically no danger. Chunxian felt much more at ease after hearing this. Over the next few days, the flying boat continued its journey. On the boat, Chunxian did not cultivate. Instead, he spent these days chatting with Xia Ruyan. It was mainly Xia Ruyan telling him about some of her experiences. Some of the stories sounded incredibly exciting, though he didn't know if Xia Ruyan had applied any artistic embellishment. But whatever, Chunxian mostly listened to them as stories. Xia Ruyan also brought out many spiritual fruits and spiritual brews that Chunxian had never seen before. With food, drink, and stories, these past few days have been quite pleasant. Since his transmigration, there were too few leisure and entertainment options in this ancient setting. He had been cultivating in the sect before and hadn't experienced things like listening to music at a brothel. When bored, he could only read some casual books. On this day, "We've arrived," Xia Ruyan suddenly said, standing up and walking outside. Chunxian immediately stood up and followed. The two of them walked onto the deck, and Chunxian saw the scene below. The flying boat had arrived at a massive city. Although there were no resources inside the myriad lost secret realm, the spiritual chi emitted by it made the surrounding cultivation environment quite excellent. Combined with the constant flow of cultivators coming and going, an immortal city had slowly been built here. The myriad lost secret realm was miraculous, but not exceptionally precious. The 3 holy lands and 2 emperor clans chose not to occupy it, but they didn't want it to be occupied by others either. Thus, the myriad lost secret realm became an unowned secret realm, with no restrictions on cultivators entering or leaving. This immortal city, however, did have owners. It was established through the joint efforts and resources of the 5 major forces. There were even sub-saints stationed in the city to guard it. Each of the 5 major forces had sent one sub-saint to preside over it. Xia Ruyan's flying boat soon landed in the city, and the 2 of them disembarked. Go into the myriad lost secret realm first to make your breakthrough. After you've broken through, I'll take you for a good tour around the city. Like a big boss sister, Xia Ruyan led Chunxian into the plaza at the center of the city. The city was built around the myriad lost secret realm. Therefore, the entrance to the myriad lost secret realm was right in the central plaza of the city. The plaza was packed with people, all of them cultivators. It was very lively. Chunxian even saw many cultivators of the middle 5 realms. He also saw the secret realm entrance in the center of the plaza. At this moment, many cultivators at nascent soul perfection were entering, while quite a few at the early stage of the Dharma idol realm were coming out. Isn't this fellow Taoist Xia Ruyan? Why have you come as well? After Xia Ruyan brought Chunxian to the plaza, she saw a woman with a graceful figure and beautiful features walking towards them. Compared to Xia Ruyan, the woman's appearance was on par, though she possessed a bit more charm and allure. However, her figure far surpassed Xia Ruyan's. The woman was curvaceous, plump, and round, exuding the charming and mature aura unique to a woman, much like a graceful young matron. Fellow Taoist Bai. Xia Ruyan smiled when she saw her. Junior brother, let me introduce you. This is a disciple of the Taishu sect Bai Rou. Xia Ruyan looked at Chunxian and said. Following that, she looked at Bai Rou. Fellow Taoist Bai, this is my junior brother, Chunxian. Bai Rou curiously sized up Chunxian. Chunxian had been an apprentice for a year now, and some news had even spread to other places. As fellow holy lands of the Eastern Wasteland, many in the Taishu sect had heard that the Holy Lord of Clouds had taken on another personal disciple. As expected of a personal disciple of the Holy Lord of Clouds, truly a talent. Biro did not know much about Chen Xian and was merely speaking politely. Let's not chat for now. Junior brother, you should go in first. Xiao Rian looked at Chen Xian and said, very well, senior sister. Senior sister, bye, farewell. Chen Xian nodded slightly and said, the relationship between the holy lands of the Eastern Wasteland had always been good. Therefore, even though they were not from the same sect, Chen Xian could still address Biro as senior sister. After bidding farewell, Chen Xian walked toward the entrance of the secret realm in the center. The entrance to the myriad lost secret realm was also a massive vortex. After approaching the vortex, Chen Xian stepped inside. Immediately, the scenery before his eyes changed. Chen Xian had arrived at a plain. There were quite a few cultivators around. This secret realm had a fixed entrance and exit, and one was not randomly teleported upon entering. After stepping into the secret realm, Chen Xian curiously looked around. He had already activated his heavenly observation divine eye. However, although he could see some special Dao rhyme within the secret realm, he could not clearly see why these Dao rhymes were born. The other cultivators around, after entering the secret realm, all began to find a place to sit cross-legged and prepare for their breakthrough. Chen Xian was no exception. He boarded his flying boat and headed in one direction. He planned to go further away, intending to find a secluded spot. However, this was truly not easy. As he flew for a while, he could see people basically everywhere. Good heavens, there are just too many people. But who could blame them when the Eastern Wasteland only had one myriad lost secret realm? Some cultivators at nascent soul perfection might not have the potential to condense multiple Dharma image seeds at once, but they would still choose to come and try. This caused the myriad lost secret realm to be crowded with people all year round. While Chen Xian was looking for a suitable place, his cultivation technique and Dao techniques were not idle. Your cultivation technique, 9 heavens cloud see scripture, senses rich Dao rhyme, and is undergoing enlightenment. Your cultivation technique, cloud see heaven observation technique, senses rich Dao rhyme, and is undergoing enlightenment. Your Dao technique, 1,000 transformations, senses rich Dao rhyme, and is undergoing enlightenment. The 3 cultivation techniques and 6 Dao techniques that Chen Xian had undergone spirit awakening for were all currently in a state of enlightenment. This caused Chen Xian to feel that his realm was beginning to be difficult to suppress, as if the cultivation techniques and Dao techniques were frantically urging him to make a breakthrough immediately. After searching for a long time, Chen Xian finally found a relatively secluded cave. Chen Xian instantly put away his flying boat and turned into a streak of light, flying into the cave. At the same time, he cast one thought seals the heavens, and countless restrictions immediately appeared around the cave. Although he was only at nascent soul perfection now, the restrictions he set up could not be broken even by a cultivator at the Dharma idol realm who was extremely skilled at breaking restrictions. The myriad lost secret realm could also only accommodate cultivators up to the Dharma idol realm at most. Therefore, he did not need to worry about anyone affecting him. Having set up the restrictions with a single thought, Chen Xian sat cross-legged in the cave, took out the 4-veined spiritual item, and prepared to start his breakthrough. Following that, Chen Xian began to impact the Dharma idol realm. The 9 heavens cloud see scripture circulated, beginning to refine the 4-veined spiritual item. In the next second, the 4-veined spiritual item turned into pure spiritual power and entered Chen Xian's body. After the spiritual power entered his body, it surged into his dantian and purple mansion like a river flowing backward. In the center of the purple mansion, that first-grade nascent soul, which emitted pure golden light throughout its body and shared 7 or 8 points of resemblance to Chen Xian's features, trembled slightly, emitting a strong opportunity for a breakthrough. The nascent soul opened its mouth, and like a whale swallowing water, it absorbed the massive amount of surging spiritual power into its own body to temper and compress it. With the continuous infusion and transformation of spiritual power, The aura around Chun Xian began to climb steadily, completely surpassing the scope of the nascent soul realm and officially stepping into a brand new level of life, the Dharma idol realm. Once this realm was achieved, the 3 major cultivation techniques and 6 major Dao techniques all ended their state of enlightenment. Almost the moment the breakthrough of the realm was completed, a sudden change occurred. Chun Xian's 3 major cultivation techniques that had already undergone spirit awakening, 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture, Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art, and Cloud Sea Heaven Observation Technique, and his 6 major Dao techniques, creation returning to truth, shadowless and traceless, One Thought Seals the Heavens, 1,000 Transformations, Purple Imperial Dragon Flame, and Purple Chi from the East, were all triggered simultaneously. Their respective Dao rhymes and powers erupted with a bang under the traction of Chun Xian's breakthrough. The power of the cultivation techniques and Dao techniques was not manifested externally, but gathered inward into the purple mansion, circling around that golden nascent soul, using their own unique Dao and techniques as a foundation. And with the help of the magical power of the myriad lost secret realm and a massive spiritual power from Chun Xian's current breakthrough interacting with heaven and earth, they began to condense materialized seeds. In an instant, 9 phantom seeds of different luster and surrounded by Dao, rhyme, slowly appeared and solidified around the nascent soul. The first seed was surrounded by clouds and mist, containing the vastness of the 9 Heavens Cloud Sea. The second seed had a dragon's shadow circling it, emitting the ferocity of the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art. The third seed had a faint pupil phantom, permeated with the profound mystery of observing heaven and measuring the earth. The fourth seed intertwined vitality with cloud chi, performing the profound mystery of creation returning to truth. The fifth seed was ethereal and indefinite, seemingly existing yet not existing, containing the ultimate of shadowless and traceless. The sixth seed had restriction runes flowing, emitting the majesty of sealing heaven and locking earth. The seventh seed had a form that was unpredictable, manifesting the magic of 1,000 transformations. The eighth seed had purple flames rising, with faint dragon roars, possessing both explosiveness and majesty. The ninth seed had purple chi lingering, with natural Dao rhyme, revealing the intent of tempering and sublimation. These 9 seeds in the purple mansion, surrounding the nascent soul, were the 9 Dharma image seeds. Chun Xian looked within himself, feeling the unprecedented scene in his purple mansion, with the nascent soul sitting in the center and the 9 great Dharma image seeds surrounding and guarding it. Waves rose in Chun Xian's heart. Before coming, he had guessed that he might be able to condense 9 Dharma image seeds at once. This was not confidence in himself, but confidence in the cultivation techniques and Dao techniques he had undergone spirit awakening for. After all, the total number of cultivation techniques and Dao techniques he had undergone spirit awakening for was exactly 9. However, although he had a premonition, it felt completely different now that he had actually achieved it. At this moment, Chun Xian felt high-spirited, breaking through to the Dharma idol realm and directly condensing 9 great Dharma image seeds. Who else could do that? From now on, his cultivation time in the Dharma idol realm would be greatly reduced. The realm had been broken through. Chun Xian stood up, preparing to leave. Suddenly, a light screen emerged. Your cultivation technique and Dao arts have jointly comprehended 2 divine abilities from the dense Dao rhyme within the myriad lost secret realm. The divine ability, all laws as one, allows multiple Dharma idols to temporarily merge into one, unleashing even greater power. Divine ability, law without bound. After reaching perfection in the Dharma idol realm, new Dharma idols can be condensed through the cultivation of Dao arts that have reached perfection in condensing Dao seals. Chun Xian was stunned for a moment. In the next second, he felt as if he had mastered the 2 divine abilities instinctively. Hiss! All laws as one, law without bound. As expected, cultivation still requires cheats. he still has to rely on his big brothers, the cultivation technique and daoarts. However, according to the system's explanation, these are divine abilities comprehended by the cultivation technique and daoarts. The source of the divine abilities should be this myriad lost secret realm. This myriad lost secret realm is truly extraordinary. He wondered exactly how it came to be. He also wondered if anyone else had comprehended these two divine abilities. If there was a chance in the future, he could go look into it. Chun Xian pondered. The light screen popped up again. System updating, update complete. Update feature. Starting from the Dharma idol realm. For every major realm breakthrough, you will receive 2 spirit awakening points. A system update? Unfortunately, no additional ways to obtain spirit awakening points were added. It only increased the rewards for realm breakthroughs. Chun Xian called up the system panel to take a look. Originally, upon breaking through to the Dharma idol realm, the spirit awakening points should have been 1, but now it displayed 2. At least it's an enhancement. Chun Xian was already quite satisfied. Looking at the panel, Chun Xian thought for 2 seconds, then directly used the spirit awakening points to awaken the 5 elements divine light and the Nirvana divine thunder. It probably wouldn't be easy to obtain a new supreme Dao technique next, so it was better to just awaken the 5 elements divine light and the Nirvana divine thunder. Anyway, if he obtained a new supreme Dao technique later, he could just awaken it after his cultivation broke through to the Cave-Heaven realm. After the daoarts were awakened, Chun Xian deactivated the cave's restriction and walked out. Looking outside, Chun Xian stretched his limbs. Immediately after, he turned into a streak of light and headed toward the exit of the secret realm. The plaza outside the secret realm. Xiaorian and Bai Rou were chatting over tea on the 2nd floor of a tea house near the plaza. This tea house was built around the plaza, and the 2nd floor provided a perfect view of the situation on the plaza. Fellow Taoist Rian, from what you've said, your junior brother actually has average aptitude and was only taken as a personal disciple by Holy Lord Yun because of his extraordinary comprehension ability. I didn't expect that a small, low-level life planet could produce such a genius. How many Dharma image seeds do you think that junior brother of yours can condense? During their chat, Bai Rou had already learned about Chun Xian's situation from Xiaorian. Bai Rou previously only knew that Master Yun Shi, the Holy Lord of the Cloud Sea Holy Land, had taken another personal disciple, but she didn't know the specifics about Chun Xian. She never expected that this Chun Xian was once a mere mortal body and had only now obtained a spirit physique through his own cultivation. Compared to Holy Lord Master Yun Shi's other 2 disciples, he was far behind. Xiaorian said confidently, I guess at least 5, maybe even 6 or 7. You certainly have a lot of confidence in your junior brother. Back when you and I started, we only condensed 6 Dharma image seeds. Bai Rou smiled upon hearing this. Bai Rou was also a saint physique cultivator. How could a fellow Taoist, known to Xiaorian, and with whom she had a good relationship, be an ordinary person? In Bai Rou's ears, Xiaorian's guess of 5 or 6 Dharma image seeds already showed great regard for Chun Xian. As for 7, she didn't believe it. Although the myriad lost secret realm could help a cultivator condense multiple Dharma image seeds at once. Even Saint Physique cultivators mostly only condensed 5 or 6. Since ancient times, those who could condense 7 at once have been as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. 8 or 9 could be said to be the rarest of the rare. It's heard that only some great emperors condensed 8 or 9 Dharma image seeds back in their day. My junior brother's aptitude may be poor, but his comprehension ability is strong. Think about it. Aren't those cultivators who can condense 7, 8, or 9 Dharma image seeds all beings with extraordinary comprehension ability? So, it doesn't matter if one's aptitude for condensing Dharma image seeds is a bit lacking. A strong comprehension ability can compensate for the deficiency in aptitude. It's just a pity my junior brother arrived late and had already cultivated daoarts and condensed a spirit physique on his own. Otherwise, Master could have definitely helped him condense a better physique directly. Physiques cannot be changed. At least the great Emperor factions on the primordial star cannot change them. This is a conclusion reached after many tests. Great Emperor factions generally possess the means to obtain and acquire divine physique. However, the cost of helping a cultivator directly obtain and acquire divine physique is not low. Even holy lands rarely use such means. Furthermore, according to tests by some factions, this method can only be applied to mortal body cultivators. Whether it's those who possess a spirit physique or king body innately, or those who have already acquired a spirit physique or king body later, they cannot be helped to directly replace it with an acquired divine physique. That was why Master Yin, she did not help Chun Xian acquire a stronger physique. Moreover, the purple chi from the east that Chun Xian cultivated could eventually be upgraded to a divine physique. Coupled with Chun Xian's own heaven-defying comprehension ability, he would likely obtain a divine physique on his own. So Master Yin, she wasn't worried about Chun Xian's physique issues. There was just one thing. A divine physique is still quite a bit inferior to a saint physique. She wondered if Chun Xian could use his comprehension ability to make up for this deficiency in aptitude in the future. Stop talking about my junior brother. You should worry more about Tang Yu, Xiaorian said with a smile. I naturally have confidence in my junior sister as well. She'll definitely be more impressive than your junior brother. Want to bet? Sure. Since both of them are about to break through to the Dharma idol realm, let's bet a spiritual artifact. If you win, both stakes go to your junior brother. If I win, the stakes go to my junior sister. All right, let me look. This one will do. As Xiaorian spoke, she rummaged through her storage ring for a while. Then she took out a red long spear. This red long spear was a fire attribute spiritual artifact, a peak grade spiritual artifact. It was also a magic treasure she frequently used before reaching the 9th level of the life and death realm, aside from her lifebound treasure. However, once her cultivation reached the life and death realm, she switched to a spirit treasure and rarely used it anymore. Bai-Ro then also pulled out a peak grade spiritual artifact, a dress that looked as if it were overflowing with immortal chi. What is this? Change it. How can my junior brother wear a dress? Xiaorian said displeasedly when she saw the spiritual artifact Bai-Ro had pulled out. It's not certain who will win or lose yet. Maybe I'll win, and my junior sister will definitely love this dress. Huh, what if my junior brother wins? I don't care, you change it. Rian, if you win, wouldn't you want to see your junior brother in a dress? Bai-Ro said with a mischievous tone. No way, you change it. Xiaorian was not tempted at all. You wicked woman, it's fine if you play pranks on your Taishu Holy Land disciples, but you want to prank my junior brother too? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Fine, I'll change to another one. Bai-Ro put away the dress and took out a small shield. It was a defensive spiritual artifact, also a peak grade spiritual artifact, no worse than the long spear Xiaorian had taken out. The two made their bet, and next was to patiently wait for Chun Xian and Tang Yu to come out. After some time, a young girl walked out of the entrance of the secret realm. The girl was pretty, but her figure was similar to Xiaorian's. Small chest, small buttocks, not much meat on her. However, they were just small, not completely flat. After Tang Yu came out, she looked around, searching for her senior sister. Junior sister, over here. Bai-Ro noticed Tang Yu and called out. Although they were quite far apart, Bai-Ro's voice still reached Tang Yu's ears directly. Hearing the voice, Tang Yu looked toward the direction it came from, quickly spotted Bai-Ro, and immediately walked over. Before long, Tang Yu arrived at the 2nd floor of the tea house. Senior sister Xia. Tang Yu called out when she came up and saw the two sitting there. Xiaorian and Tang Yu had met before, although it was only a nodding acquaintance because Xiaorian and Bai-Ro had a good relationship. The two were reasonably familiar with each other. Sit down quickly. Bai-Ro smiled and invited Tang Yu to sit. Tang Yu thanked her senior sister and sat down. Then she saw that both Bai-Ro and Xiaorian were staring at her, especially Bai-Ro, who had a smile on her face while looking at her. Thinking of her senior sister's personality, Tang Yu always felt that her senior sister was up to no good again. Senior sister, why are you two looking at me? Tang Yu's tone weakened a little. Yeah. How many Dharma image seeds did you condense? Ro asked with a smile. So that was what they wanted to ask. She had wondered what it was about. Tang Yu breathed a sigh of relief and said happily, Senior sister, I condensed 6 Dharma image seeds. Not bad, not bad. Junior sister, show us. Let me and your senior sister Xia take a look. Ro was also very happy upon hearing this. Although it wasn't 7 or more, 6 was already quite good. After all, Dharma image seeds were not entirely dependent on aptitude. Therefore, even for a sacred body, there had been cases of only condensing 5 or even fewer Dharma image seeds. However, a sacred body was ultimately a sacred body. For a sacred body cultivator, the worst-case scenario was usually condensing 3 Dharma image seeds. Unless, during the period of cultivating to nascent soul perfection, they had not cultivated any other cultivation technique or Tao method besides one. Otherwise, it would never be lower than 3 Dharma image seeds. Tang Yu didn't think much of it when she heard Ro ask her to show them. She directly urged her nascent soul to leave her body. At the same time as the nascent soul left the body, the 6 Dharma image seeds surrounding the nascent soul were also revealed. Ro asked her to show them naturally because of the bet, to let Tang Yu verify her own Dharma image seeds. Ruyan, now it depends on your junior brother's situation. By the way, if they both have 6, how should we count that? Ro asked, looking at Xia Ruyan with a smile. If they are the same, then we will give one of these 2 stakes to each of them. But the outcome is still unknown for now. Let's wait for my junior brother to come out. Xia Ruyan said directly. 2 peak grade spiritual artifacts were nothing to either of them. Tang Yu understood what the 2 were talking about when she heard this. This senior sister Xia's junior brother had also come, and these 2 senior sisters were betting on her and senior sister Xia's junior brother. Tang Yu was also a bit helpless. Her own senior sister and senior sister Xia were quite old already, yet they were still making bets. How childish. Although she didn't know the exact ages of her senior sister and senior sister Xia. However, since both had cultivated to the Nirvana realm, she figured they couldn't be too young. Next, the 3 girls waited patiently. They didn't wait long. After just enough time to drink 2 more cups of tea, Chun Xian had already come out of the secret realm. Chun Xian's divine sense power was very strong. After coming out, he swept his divine sense and spotted the 3 of them, Xia Ruyan and the others, at the tea house, then walked straight over. At the tea house, Xia Ruyan said somewhat smugly, See that? My junior brother found our location as soon as he came out. What is that proof? My junior sister just didn't use her divine sense to look for people when she came out, otherwise she could have found you instantly too. Ro said, refusing to admit defeat. Tang Yu smiled without speaking. 2 childish senior sisters. Chun Xian arrived at the tea house. Senior sister Bai. Chun Xian cupped his hands and called out, Junior brother, how many Dharma image seeds did you condense? Xia Ruyan immediately looked at Chun Xian and asked, Senior sister, what is this? Chun Xian looked at the somewhat anxious Xia Ruyan in confusion. Junior brother Chun, your senior sister Bai, and I made a little bet. Ro slowly explained the matter of the bet. As she spoke, she even took out the shield used as the stake. Xia Ruyan also took out her long spear. Then the 2 looked at Chun Xian. Junior brother, junior sister Tang condensed 6 Dharma image seeds. What about you? Xia Ruyan asked again. Chun Xian also hadn't expected that he could obtain 2 peak grade spiritual artifacts just after his breakthrough to the Dharma idol stage. Peak grade spiritual artifacts were not bad. Naturally, he was unwilling to give them up. Moreover, regarding the matter of condensing 9 Dharma image seeds at once, he had no intention of hiding it. As a person of the Holy Land, he was also the Holy Master's personal disciple. His status destined him to be watched by countless people. Hiding one's methods was fine, but blindly hiding one's talent had no benefits. Only by showing some of his extraordinary talent could he bring honor to Master Yun Shi and the Holy Land. If the Master and the elders of the Holy Land were happy, his days in the future would only get better. Senior sister Bai, I'm sorry. It seems my senior sister won the bet between you and her. Chun Xian withdrew his thoughts and said with a smile, looking at Bai Rou, "You really condensed more than 6 Dharma image seeds?" Bai Rou said in surprise. Tang Yu also looked at this fellow Taoist Chun with curiosity. Chun Xian didn't say much more and directly let his nascent soul leave his body. Surrounding the nascent soul were 9 Dharma image seeds, each with a different luster. 9. Both Xia Ruyan and Bai Rou stood up abruptly, somewhat excited. Tang Yu was also stunned. 9 Dharma image seeds. She had only heard of such an existence. She hadn't expected to see it with her own eyes today. After her surprise, Xia Ruyan laughed happily. "Ha, Bai Rou, my junior brother one, hand over the spiritual artifact." As she spoke, she looked at Bai Rou and reached out her hand. "Here, take it, take it. Look how happy you are." Bai Rou rolled her eyes and handed the shield to Xia Ruyan. "Can't I be happy for my junior brother? 9 Dharma image seeds. I've really seen something today," Xia Ruyan said happily. As she spoke, Xia Ruyan stuffed the spiritual artifact into Chun Xian's hands. "Junior brother, here you go." Chun Xian didn't refuse. He took the spiritual artifact and thanked them. "Thank you, senior sister. Thank you, senior sister Bai. The matter is settled, so we should be heading back. Junior brother Chun, this is my transmission jade slip. Keep it. Let's stay in touch when you have time," Bai Rou said, taking out a jade slip and stuffing it directly into Chun Xian's arms. Then she walked outside. "Senior sister Xia, fellow Taoist Chun, my senior sister and I will be leaving first," Tang Yu said obediently and followed by Rou. "Junior brother, let's go. We're heading back too," Xia Ruyan said as she walked out, her ponytail swaying gently in the wind. Chun Xian put away the spiritual artifacts and the transmission jade slip for now, then followed her. Before long, the two of them boarded Xia Ruyan's flying boat and set off toward the Cloud Sea Holy Land. The flying boat pierced through the clouds, leaving a thin trail of light in its wake. On the way back to the Holy Land, Xia Ruyan and Chun Xian sat on the flying boat, drinking tea and chatting. The tea was warm, with a faint spiritual glow shimmering in the cup. Xia Ruyan told Chun Xian the names and effects of the 2 spiritual artifacts. The spear was called Remnant Rainbow, a fire tribute spiritual artifact. If one cultivated fire tribute techniques or spells, it could unleash immense power. The shield was called the Profound Armor Shield, a pure defensive spiritual artifact with decent defensive power. Its heavy surface gave off a steady sense of security. Both spiritual artifacts were high-quality items, even among peak-grade spiritual artifacts. "I must thank you, senior sister." Chun Xian thanked her with a smile, gratitude evident in his eyes. "It's nothing. If your cultivation weren't so low right now, I would have bet a spirit treasure with Bai Rou," Xia Ruyan said cheerfully, taking another sip from her teacup. After chatting for a while, Chun Xian took his leave and returned to his room. Now that his cultivation had broken through, he planned to cultivate diligently. Xia Ruyan didn't force him to stay and chat. She even cheered him on, encouraging him to cultivate well. After returning to the room Xia Ruyan had arranged for him on the flying boat, Chun Xian first set up some restrictions to block detection. Faint spiritual light flickered in the 4 corners of the room, and then the 9 Heavens Cloud Sea Scripture and the Cloud Sea Heaven Observation Technique both began to operate automatically for cultivation. The 5 elements Divine Light and Nirvana Divine Thunder had never stopped cultivating. Only the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation art was difficult to deal with now. To improve the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation art required resources. Cultivating it on his own had no effect at all. The 3rd volume of the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation art was called the Dragon Bone Volume. Reaching perfection in this volume would allow him to cultivate to the perfection of the 10th realm. Just as its name suggested, this volume focused on cultivating the bones of the entire body. The 6th realm focused on the torso, the 7th on the hands, the 8th on the legs, and the 9th on the skull. By the time one reached the perfection of the 9th realm, the bones of the entire body were actually finished. The cultivation of the final 10th realm was flesh from bone. At that time, Chun Xian's entire body's flesh and blood would undergo a massive transformation. Once this volume reached perfection, Chun Xian could truly be called a human-shaped vicious beast. It would definitely be incredibly strong. However, it was also extremely resource-intensive. Now that Chun Xian had returned to the Holy Land, he needed to start performing alchemy to earn money. Fortunately, with the purple imperial dragon flame, earning money wouldn't be difficult. The more Chun Xian thought about it, the better his mood became, and the corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously. After the 9 heavens cloud sea scripture and the cloud sea heaven observation technique began cultivating, his cultivation and divine sense started to strengthen. At the same time, the first 3 Dharma image seeds in his purple mansion were also being catalyzed, showing signs of sprouting. The sprout-like spiritual light trembled slightly, as if ready to burst through the soil at any moment. A few days later, Xiao Ruyan and Chun Xian returned to the Holy Land. The flying boat slowly landed on a mountain peak within the Holy Land. "Let's go see Master first," Xiao Ruyan suggested. "All right." Chun Xian nodded in agreement. Soon after, the two of them arrived at Master Yun Shi's immortal cave. Outside the immortal cave, the branches and leaves of the spiritual trees swayed gently. It was very quiet. Xiao Ruyan called out a few times, and soon the immortal cave's formation opened, with the stone door sliding silently to both sides. Xiao Ruyan led Chun Xian inside and saw Master Yun Shi in the courtyard. Master Yun Shi was sitting by a stone table, holding a cup in her hand. Chun Xian smelled a hint of wine fragrance. The aroma was quite enticing. The wine Master Yun Shi was drinking certainly wasn't any ordinary wine. "Master," Xiao Ruyan called out with a smile. "Master." Chun Xian, on the other hand, cupped his hands and called out, appearing a bit more formal than Xiao Ruyan. Master Yun Shi looked at the two of them and nodded slightly. Her gaze was calm, carrying a hint of scrutinizing gentleness. She didn't say anything else. However, even without her needing to speak, Xiao Ruyan had already vividly recounted the events of the myriad lost secret realm. She spoke rapidly, like beans spilling out a bag. 9 Dharma image seeds? Master Yun, she was also somewhat surprised to hear this, her eyebrows arching slightly. Throughout the ages, not many people had been able to condense 9 Dharma image seeds at once in the myriad lost secret realm. Not bad. Chun Xian, your comprehension ability is indeed extraordinary. I'll reward you with this spiritual artifact. Master Yun Shi smiled with satisfaction and then took out a spiritual artifact. The spiritual artifact hovered in her palm, emitting a soft halo. It was also a peak-grade spiritual artifact, a flying boat. Having obtained 3 peak-grade spiritual artifacts just by breaking through a realm, Chun Xian's mood was excellent. "Thank you, Master." Chun Xian accepted the flying boat. It felt warm to the touch, its spiritual power restrained. After examining the flying boat, Chun Xian put it away for the time being. After the 3 of them chatted for a while, Chun Xian and Xiao Ruyan left. They stepped out of Master Yun Shi's immortal cave. Xiao Ruyan looked at Chun Xian. "Junior brother, I'm going back to cultivate now. If anything comes up, just come next door to find me. You know where my immortal cave is, right? That one is mine, and the other is senior sister's. Don't go to the wrong one. Let me give you another one of my transmission jade slips. If I'm not in the immortal cave, use the jade slip to contact me." As Xiao Ruyan spoke, she took out a transmission jade slip and handed it to Chun Xian. The jade slip was crystal clear, similar to the one Bai Rou had given him. "Thank you, senior sister. I'm off. Xiao Ruyan waved her hand and left in a whirlwind. Chun Xian was in no hurry to go back. He had been in the Holy Land for a year, but hadn't had a good look around. It was a good time to wander around, sell some things, and buy materials to start his grand alchemy undertaking. When he was in the Divine Sea realm, because he had to buy resources for nascent soul realm cultivation and the 4-vein spiritual item for his breakthrough, he actually didn't have many spirit stones left on him. If he wanted to get his first bit of capital, he had to sell some items. For example, heavenly Dao Qi, purple Qi source crystals, and mind-settling pills. He mainly planned to sell the mind-settling pills and purple Qi source crystals. Heavenly Dao Qi was truly difficult to obtain. Although he had the heavenly observation of Einai, he still had to wait the right place and time. Sometimes, sitting for several days might not even yield a single wisp. Since it was so hard to get, he had to keep some for himself. Even though he no longer needed it, some juniors with average talent might need it in the future. He would keep a bit for a rainy day. Purple chi source crystals and mind-settling pills were different. One could be continuously condensed, and the other he could refine himself. So this time, he would just sell them all. Anyway, back to the topic. After leaving Master Yun Shi's immortal cave, Chun Xian soon flew into the air near Cloud Sea Peak. Clouds churned beneath his feet, and distant peaks loomed in and out of sight. Upon reaching the vicinity of Cloud Sea Peak, Chun Xian spotted a massive city at the foot of the mountain. Its walls were towering, and people were coming and going. This location was likely the market of the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Chun Xian stepped into the market, which was bustling with noise as the sounds of peddling and laughter intertwined. The market was divided into 3 areas: the outer perimeter, the inner perimeter, and the core area. The land area of the 3 regions decreased in size from one to the next. The largest area was the outer perimeter, primarily serving cultivators of the lower 5 realms. The medium one was the inner perimeter, serving cultivators of the middle 5 realms. And the smallest was the core area, serving cultivators of the upper 5 realms. This was also because cultivators of the lower 5 realms were the most numerous, while those of the upper 5 realms were very few. After wandering around the outer perimeter for a while, Chun Xian found a shop. The storefront was not large, but it was kept clean and tidy. The shop owner was a nascent soul realm outer sect disciple who was currently looking down while organizing shelves. Chun Xian walked into the shop, seeing Chun Xian's core disciple robes. The shop owner immediately cupped his hands and said, "Does senior brother require anything?" His attitude was respectful, and his eyes held a hint of eagerness. The core disciples of the Holy Land varied in cultivation level. Some might be in the Nirvana realm, while others might only be at the Chi gathering or spirit sea stage. However, core disciples who could be taken in as personal disciples by an elder were basically all cultivators with divine bodies or even saint bodies. I want to sell some things. Do you accept heavenly Dao Chi, purple Chi source crystals, and mind-settling pills here? Chun Xian asked. We do. Of course we do. The shop owner's eyes lit up, and he spoke quickly, his voice rising a few notches. In the outer perimeter of the market, heavenly Dao Chi, purple Chi source crystals, and mind-settling pills were definitely considered rare and precious resources. Within the Holy Land, not all disciples possess constitutions above the spirit body level. The Holy Land had many spirit body disciples, and there were even some disciples with strong comprehension ability, but only a mortal body who managed to join the Holy Land. These disciples naturally needed heavenly Dao Chi if they wanted to achieve a heavenly Dao Foundation establishment. The purple Chi source crystals and mind-settling pills went without saying. Even those with king body aptitude required purple Chi source crystals. As for the mind-settling pill, it was something that was definitely needed regardless of one's cultivation level. Chun Xian nodded upon hearing this. Immediately after, he took out all the mind-settling pills and purple Chi source crystals from his storage pouch. As for the heavenly Dao Chi, he didn't take it all out, keeping 10 strands for himself. The items piled up on nearly half the counter. The heavenly Dao Chi and medicinal pills were contained in specially made vessels, so no aura leaked out, but the purple Chi source crystals shimmered with a faint, deep luster. Seeing so many mind-settling pills, purple Chi source crystals, and strands of heavenly Dao Chi, the owner was also slightly startled, and a flicker of surprise flashed in his eyes. However, his expression returned to normal in an instant. He thought to himself that the other party was a core disciple, so it was normal for him to have more resources. The owner immediately took inventory of the items and quickly quoted a price. The price was quite fair. Even if he were given 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare to cheat a core disciple. Even inner sect disciple was not someone he could afford to provoke. While the cultivation atmosphere in the Cloud Sea Holy Land was good, it didn't mean that the people of the Holy Land were pushovers. Chun Xin didn't haggle much. As long as he wasn't being cheated, it was fine. He then sold all the items and received a batch of spirit crystals. Although those 3 types of items could be bought with spirit stones, because the quantity was large, the shop owner settled the bill with spirit crystals. Spirit crystals were the currency commonly used by cultivators of the middle 5 realms, but that didn't mean cultivators of the lower 5 realms couldn't produce them. After selling his resources, Chun Xin left the shop. "Please come again, senior brother." The shop owner saw Chun Xin out with a smile, his attitude even more enthusiastic than when he first entered. Chun Xin nodded slightly. "I will if I have the chance." After leaving the shop, Chun Xin headed straight for the inner perimeter of the market. The 6th-grade medicinal pill materials he needed to buy next could only be found in the inner perimeter. Soon, Chun Xin arrived at the inner perimeter. It was much quieter here than the outer perimeter, and the cultivation levels of the passing cultivators were noticeably higher. He found a shop that specialized in the alchemy business. The sign at the door was carved with the pattern of a pill furnace, and a faint medicinal fragrance wafted out. This shop sold medicinal pills as well as alchemy materials, and it also purchased materials and pills. Chun Xin bought some materials that could be used to refine 6th-grade Dragonbone pills. The effects of the 6th-grade Dragonbone pill went without saying. They were similar to the Dragon Vein pill and Dragon Scale pill. Currently, Chun Xian's spiritual power and divine sense were being cultivated automatically by his cultivation technique, so he was in no hurry to refine pills that increased spiritual power and divine sense. Therefore, he wanted to buy some Dragonbone pill materials first. After refining the pills, he could consume half himself and sell the other half. When he was at the Cloud Sea sect on Chinian Star, the Dragon Vein pills and Dragon Scale pills he refined were actually not very easy to sell, because very few people cultivated the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art. But the Cloud Sea Holy Land was different. Many disciples could be found here who cultivated the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about selling Dragonbone pills. Chun Xin only learned these things after asking the owner upon arriving at the shop. Although the owner of this shop was an inner sect disciple with a higher cultivation level than Chun Xin, he remained very kind upon seeing Chun Xian's core disciple robes, answering whatever Chun Xin asked with great amiability. After buying the materials, Chun Xin returned to his immortal cave. Then he began his grand undertaking of alchemy. The purple imperial dragon flame split into 2, with the 2 clusters of flames dancing beneath the pill furnace, precisely controlling the temperature. Although Chun Xian's pill furnace was only a peak-grade magic treasure, it was barely sufficient for refining 6th-grade pills. However, he couldn't keep using a peak-grade magic treasure forever. Later, he would either have to re-refine it or simply replace it with a new one. Over the following period of time, batch after batch of Dragonbone pills were produced. The pill fragrance permeated the immortal cave, lingering for a long time. Chun Xin consumed half of these pills. The remaining half was kept to be sold. As he began using the Dragonbone pills, Chun Xian's body refining realm began to grow. In his spare time, he went to the market again, exchanging the half of the Dragonbone pills he sold for spirit crystals and contribution points, and then went to buy more materials. In this cycle, he entered a state of positive growth. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, Chun Xian had already earned a significant amount of contribution points and spirit crystals. His cultivation had also increased to the middle stage of the Dharma idol realm. His progress in body refining and divine sense also kept pace, with the 3 advancing together. His proficiency in the 5 elements divine light and Nirvana divine thunder also reached the level of proficient. Chun Xian's first 3 Dharma image seeds had completely sprouted, growing into 3 miniature Dharma idols. The 9 Heavens Dharma idol, the Heaven-gazing Dharma image, and the Azure Dragon Dharma idol. These 3 miniature Dharma idols had distinct appearances. The 9 Heavens Dharma idol primarily took the form of a cloud, ethereal and shifting. The heaven-gazing Dharma image somewhat resembled an eye, with a faint light seemingly flowing through it as it opened and closed. The azure dragon Dharma idol was a small azure dragon, emerald green all over, coiled within his purple mansion. In addition, there was his life-bound treasure, the Nine-Heaven Sword. After 3 months of nurturing, the Nine-Heaven Sword had been upgraded from a peak-grade magic treasure to a low-grade spiritual artifact. An extra layer of lustrous sheen had appeared on the sword's body. Its prowess appeared much more formidable than before. When cultivating the Nine Heavens Cloud Sea scripture, a large amount of spiritual power would also be used to nurture his life-bound treasure. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before his life-bound treasure could advance once again. On this day, as Chun Xian left his immortal cave and was preparing to go to the market again, a voice reached his ears. "Junior brother, I was just looking for you." Chun Xian turned his head and saw Xia Ruyan flying down from the sky, landing beside him. "Senior sister, weren't you in closed-door cultivation?" Chun Xian asked with a smile. "Well, I've come out of seclusion. It's not easy to break through in my realm, so there's no rush." Xia Ruyan waved her hand dismissively. The gap between the Nirvana realm and the sub-saint realm was truly vast. Even for a saint body cultivator like her, it would take some effort. "Fair enough. Senior sister, what did you need me for?" Chun Xian asked again. Hearing Chun Xian's question, Xia Ruyan remembered her business and said hurriedly, "It's a long story. You've seen the maps before. Our East Sea is adjacent to the Eastern Desolation. There are many coastal countries along the shore. The East Sea is the territory of the sea race within the Yao race. For the most part, the Yao race and the human race don't have much conflict. However, a small number of the sea race across the 4 seas are extremely hostile toward humans. They often attack coastal nations, attempting to break into the 5 domains. Major forces have always sent people to be stationed in coastal nations to guard against the Yao race. Not far from our Cloud Sea Holy Land, there is a coastal nation called Donglai Kingdom. Our Cloud Sea Holy Land is no exception. We've always sent people to be stationed in Donglai Kingdom, though we rotate them every so often. After eldest senior sister broke through to the sub-saint realm a few years ago, she went to be stationed in Donglai Kingdom. 3 months ago, I sent a message to eldest senior sister and introduced you to her in advance. She originally planned to meet you after she returned. However, a few days ago, eldest senior sister sent word back saying that a new secret realm was discovered in Donglai Kingdom. The secret realm is about to open, and it only allows cultivators below the sub-saint realm to enter. She asked if we wanted to go. In a newly discovered secret realm, we might run into some significant opportunity, Xia Ruyan said, rubbing her hands together with a bit of excitement. For places like secret realms or ruins, opportunities are only plentiful when they are first discovered. If you wait until they've been explored once or twice, or even 3 times, there won't be any major opportunities left, only scraps. Chun Xian's first reaction upon hearing this was that he didn't want to go. You gotta be kidding. Anyone below the sub-saint realm can enter. That meant he could potentially encounter enemies in the Cave Heaven realm, Tongxian realm, Life and Death realm, or even the Nirvana realm. If an opportunity was found inside and a fight broke out, how was he supposed to contend with cultivators above the Dharma image realm? But on second thought, Xia Ruyan would be going in too. And since the secret realm was in Donglai Kingdom, most of those entering would likely be disciples of the Cloud Sea Holy Land, or perhaps exclusively disciples of the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Put that way, it shouldn't be particularly dangerous. Chun Xian pondered. Seeing this, Xia Ruyan said, "Junior brother, what are you thinking about? Are you worried about danger? Don't worry, I'll be there to protect you. Besides, eldest senior sister and the others are guarding that secret realm now." She said that when the time comes, aside from people from our Cloud Sea Holy Land, they'll only allow local cultivators from Donglai Kingdom to enter. Moreover, you still have Master's Dao Protection Talisman on you. Xia Ruyan only came to find Chun Xian because she truly felt it was safe. If she felt there was any danger at all, she wouldn't have invited him along. Below the sub-saint realm, Xia Ruyan feared no one. With her there, exploring the secret realm would definitely not be dangerous. As for why she sought out Chun Xian, One reason was to help him obtain some opportunities. After all, even if others didn't understand, how could she not know Master Yunshi's training strategy? The strategy was to provide no resources for increasing cultivation. Only in special circumstances would she give some rewards or gifts. So she wanted to give Chun Xian a hand. With her protection, Chun Xian might be able to obtain quite a few resources on this trip. Back then, her own eldest senior sister had also taken her along to explore secret realms. Another reason was that during their previous conversations, Chun Xian had mentioned he was skilled with restrictions. Places like secret realms and ruins often had restrictions. Xiao Rian didn't know much about them, so Chun Xian would be an excellent helper. If they encountered a restriction that Chun Xian couldn't break due to his low cultivation, he could still guide her through the process step by step. After listening to Xiao Rian, Chun Xian thought it over and finally nodded with a smile. All right then, senior sister. It just so happens I wanted to meet eldest senior sister as well. With the Dao protection talisman, Xiao Rian, and eldest senior sister there, he felt a complete sense of security. However, the reason secret realms restricted higher-level cultivators from entering was actually due to restrictions at the entrance. With the power of one thought seals the heavens, he wondered if he could take control of the restrictions of a true secret realm. Well, if the secret realm was too powerful and his cultivation was insufficient, it probably wouldn't work. But he could try to find a loophole. For example, finding a gap to allow cultivators above the Nirvana realm to enter. If that worked, and he could bring eldest senior sister in with them, his sense of security would truly be maximized. Great, let's go tell Master, and then we'll set off. Xiao Rian nodded immediately. Okay. Shortly after, the two arrived at Master Yun Shi's immortal cave. Upon seeing Master Yun Shi, Xiao Rian told her about their plan to go to Donglai Kingdom. Master Yun Shi had already learned about the news of the Donglai Kingdom's secret realm. Some cultivators within the Holy Land were already on their way there. Many other cultivators in the Holy Land were also very interested in a newly opened secret realm. After hearing Xiao Rian out, Master Yun Shi pondered for a moment, looked at the two of them, and said, Donglai Kingdom is near the East Sea after all. According to the news from Wanqing, this secret realm happens to be right on the coast. Chun Xian, your cultivation is only at the Dharma image realm, which is too low. To be safe, take these 3 10,000-mile transmission talismans with you. Give one to your eldest senior sister. If you encounter trouble you can't handle, the moment the Dao protection talisman is triggered, use the 10,000-mile transmission talisman immediately. This talisman will teleport you back to the Holy Land. As Master Yun Shi spoke, she took out 3 golden talismans. One flew into Chun Xian's hand, while the other 2 flew to Xiao Rian. Chun Xian looked at the talisman in his hand, feeling quite curious. It seemed his master was very skilled with talismans. First, the Dao protection talisman, and now the 10,000-mile transmission talisman. Well, regardless of what master was skilled in, the safety of this trip had increased by another level. Not bad at all. Chun Xian and Xiao Rian immediately put away the teleportation talismans. Thank you, master. Go then, and remember to return safely. Master Yun, she nodded slightly. She only had 3 disciples. Although she chose a training strategy that didn't provide resources, she didn't want to see any accidents happen to them. That was why she gave them both Dao protection talismans and teleportation talismans. If she wasn't worried about her disciples losing their sense of crisis entirely, she might have given them even more talismans. Chun Xian and Xiao Rian soon left Master Yun Shi's immortal cave. They used Xiao Rian's flying boat again. After the two boarded, the flying boat headed toward the east. On the way, Chun Xian saw many flying boats and flying sword from the cloud sea Holy Land heading in the same direction. It seemed there were indeed quite a few Holy Land disciples interested in the Donglai Kingdom's secret realm. The Cloud Sea Holy Land was very close to Donglai Kingdom, and the two arrived there that same day. Hailong City. This city is located by the sea and is the city in the Donglai Kingdom closest to the East Sea. The city walls are not high, yet they exude a sense of vigor from being weathered by sea breezes year-round. Chun Xian and Xia Rian's senior sister Su Wanqing, along with other cultivators from the Cloud Sea Holy Land, are stationed in this city. When Xia Rian's flying boat arrived at Hailong City, many other cultivators had already rushed over. The Donglai Kingdom is considered a relatively large nation. There are many local powers. Almost any mid-tier power has sent people to Hailong City. A mid-tier power refers to a force whose highest combat strength is in the middle 5 realms. Forces without middle 5 realms cultivators can only be considered low-tier powers on the primordial star. Low-tier powers from far away would not rush over even if they heard about the secret realm. However, low-tier powers within or around Hailong City are still very interested. In any case, after the Cloud Sea Holy Land took control of the secret realm entrance, they announced to the public that cultivators from local powers could enter. Speaking of which, for people from these small forces, if a new secret realm appears, they would truly rather it fall into the hands of a holy land than into the hands of a local mid-tier power. If it fell into the hands of a local power, there would certainly be no share for their small forces. Returning to the main topic, Chun Xian and Xia Rian soon entered Hailong City. People were coming and going on the city streets, making it much more bustling than usual. Most were cultivators who had rushed over upon hearing the news. Within Hailong City, there was a massive residence called the Yunhai Mansion. To call it a residence is an understatement. It could be described as a city within the city. The walls were built high, and disciples stood guard at the gate, exuding the prestige of a great sect. Chun Xian and Xia Ruyan made their way to the Yunhai Mansion and quickly found a small courtyard. Inside the courtyard, a woman dressed in a long green dress with a gentle and elegant aura was holding a book and reading. Senior sister, Xia Ruyan called out happily as soon as she stepped into the courtyard. Hearing Xia Ruyan's voice, senior sister Su Wanqing put down the book in her hand and looked at the two approaching people with a gentle smile on her face. Senior sister, Chun Xian also cupped his hands and called out, "Junior brother, there's no need for such formalities. Since this is our first meeting, I'll give you this spirit pet egg as a greeting gift. I don't know if you're skilled in beast taming, but a spirit pet egg is the most suitable thing I have to give you. If you aren't interested, junior brother, you can sell it after returning to the sect in exchange for contribution points." Senior sister Su Wanqing said in a gentle voice. As she spoke, she took out a white spirit pet egg. There are some special patterns on this spirit pet egg, with faint spiritual light flowing over them. Chun Xian was stunned for a moment. Senior sister is truly generous. The aura emitted by this spirit pet egg was not simple. Its bloodline was definitely not weak. "Thank you, senior sister. I am very interested." Chun Xian didn't stand on ceremony and accepted the spirit pet egg. It felt warm and smooth in his hand, and he could feel a weak yet surging life force inside the eggshell. A greeting gift. Oh no, I forgot about that. Seeing this, Xia Ruyan's eyes widened, and she looked annoyed with herself. Hearing this, Chun Xian smiled. "Senior sister, didn't you give me 2 peak-grade spiritual artifacts? That doesn't count. Those were won from a bet." As Xia Ruyan spoke, she began rummaging through her storage ring, muttering something under her breath. Soon, Xia Ruyan took out a brightly colored fruit. The fruit was crimson all over and emitted a faint fragrance. "Junior brother, here is your makeup greeting gift. This is a Earth Origin Spirit fruit, which is quite precious. After the treasure pupil cat senior sister gave you hatches, you can feed it directly to the cat. With the treasure pupil cat's divine beast bloodline, after eating the Earth Origin Spirit fruit, its cultivation could directly reach the 5th tier perfection," Xia Ruyan said as she stuffed the spirit fruit into Chun Xian's hand. Chun Xian was somewhat surprised after hearing that. How is this just somewhat precious? This is extremely precious. A single spirit fruit can directly elevate a spirit pet to the 5th tier perfection. Furthermore, he indeed hadn't misjudged it. The spirit pet egg eldest senior sister gave him was truly not simple. It actually had a divine beast bloodline. This Thank you, second senior sister, eldest senior sister. Chun Xian thanked him again, his tone sincere. It's a small matter. Do you know any beast-taming Dao techniques? If not, senior sister, and I will exchange one for you when we return to the sect. Xia Rian asked with a smile. Chun Xian thought for a moment and then nodded. I once exchanged for a top-tier beast-taming Dao technique in my lower realm sect. That's good then, it saves some trouble. As the three of them spoke, they sat down to drink tea and chat. Eldest senior sister had a very gentle personality and asked Chun Xian about many trivial matters since his arrival at the Holy Land, such as whether he was used to living there and if he had encountered any difficulties in his cultivation. Master and the two senior sisters, the three of them had completely different personalities. The differences were huge. One was cold and aloof, one was gentle, and one was enthusiastic. However, although their personalities were different, they were all very good to him. While they were chatting, Xia Rian remembered the 10,000-mile transmission talisman and took one out to give to her senior sister. After accepting the talisman, senior sister Su Wanqing said, Master's concern is not without reason. Even if no problems arise in the East Sea, there might be significant dangers within the secret realm. After all, this secret realm allows cultivators below the sub-saint level to enter. Ruyan, after entering the secret realm later, you must protect junior brother well. Don't worry, senior sister. I will definitely stay by junior brother's side every step of the way. Xia Rian nodded and replied with a smile, her tone certain. Eldest senior sister, how much longer until the secret realm opens? Chun Xian asked. About 3 days, senior sister Su Wanqing replied. Chun Xian thought for a moment and then said, Senior sister, can you take me to see the entrance of the secret realm now? Okay, let's go. We'll go take a look together. Senior sister Su Wanqing didn't ask why. She simply agreed with a smile. Thank you, senior sister. As they spoke, the three of them soon left the Yinhai mansion. Outside the city, on a cliff by the sea, the waves beat against the rocks at the bottom of the cliff, making a dull sound. The sea breeze was strong, making their clothes rustle loudly. The vicinity had already been cordoned off by the disciples of the Cloud Sea Holy Land. Before the secret realm opened, people would temporarily not be allowed up. After senior sister Su Wanqing and the other two arrived, the Holy Land disciples all cupped their hands in greeting one after another. Elder Su, senior sister Xia. Senior sister Su Wanqing nodded slightly in acknowledgement. Don't mind us. I'm taking Ruyan and junior brother over to have a look. Yes, elder. The Holy Land disciples replied. After the three of them left, the Holy Land disciples immediately began to whisper among themselves. That person with Elder Su and senior sister Xia should be the third personal disciple the Holy Lord took in over a year ago, right? He looks extraordinary. He truly lives up to being the Holy Lord's personal disciple. How vulgar. For that junior brother to be taken as a disciple by the Holy Lord, he must be someone with transcendent talent. I didn't say junior brother's talent wasn't good. On top of the cliff, the three of them soon arrived in front of the secret realm entrance. There was no one guarding this immediate area. The entrance of a secret realm that has not yet fully opened is not a complete vortex, but a mass of somewhat abstract, blurry matter. It looked like a mass of crumpled space, with spiritual light flowing through it in a disorganized manner. After Chun Xian arrived, he began to sense the restrictions of this secret realm. His divine sense slowly reached out, touching that blurry entrance. The next second, Chun Xian was stunned, a surge of shock hitting his heart. How is it an acquired restriction? Restrictions were divided into two types: innate restrictions, which formed naturally, and acquired restrictions, which were man-made. Even some who were very skilled in restrictions couldn't actually distinguish whether a restriction was naturally formed or man-made. Before Chun Xian's one thought seals the heavens reach perfection, if it hadn't undergone spirit awakening, Chun Xian himself wouldn't have been able to tell. In short, restrictions within a secret realm should all be naturally formed. Perhaps after a secret realm was fully opened, someone might set up acquired restrictions. But in a secret realm that hadn't even opened yet, the interior should only contain innate restrictions. However, the restrictions of the secret realm before him were acquired restrictions. This meant that this wasn't some newly appeared secret realm at all. This meant there were two possibilities. Either this secret realm had appeared before, someone had entered and set up acquired restrictions, and then the entrance disappeared only to reopen now. The other possibility was that someone had disguised a small world as a secret realm and placed its entrance here. It seemed, without a doubt, to be the latter. The restrictions inside were all acquired restrictions. If it were a naturally formed secret realm, it would be impossible for it to have no innate restrictions. In short, regardless of which possibility it was, it certainly wasn't anything good. There was a problem. Senior sister, something's wrong. There's a problem. Chen Xian immediately looked at senior sister Su Wanqing and said, What is it? Senior sister Su Wanqing was slightly taken aback. I don't know if second senior sister told you, but I'm skilled in restrictions. Chen Xian asked. Senior sister Su Wanqing nodded. She did. Xiaorian also looked at Chen Xian, curious about what was wrong. Chen Xian reached out his hand, and a Dao seal condensed upon his palm. The Dao seal immediately drew the gazes of senior sister Su Wanqing and Xiaorian. Although they didn't know which Dao art this Dao seal was condensed from, just by sensing its aura, they could tell it was the Dao seal of a supreme Dao technique. I once had an opportunity in the lower realm and learned a supreme Dao technique regarding restrictions, cultivating it to perfection. Just now, when I sensed the secret realm, I discovered that the restrictions inside are not innate restrictions. They are all acquired restrictions. Chen Xian explained as he looked at the two of them. Hearing this, senior sister Su Wanqing's expression hardened. Xiaorian's expression also became somewhat solemn. The two of them immediately understood why Chen Xian said something was wrong and that there was a problem. This was no opportunity. This was most likely a trap. Senior sister Su Wanqing immediately locked her suspicion onto those members of the sea race who were hostile toward the human race. Senior sister, what should we do now? Should we announce this to the public and stop people from entering this secret realm? Xiaorian said, looking at senior sister Su Wanqing. No, they won't believe us. They might even think our Cloud Sea Holy Land wants to monopolize the secret realm. Senior sister Su Wanqing shook her head. Although the Cloud Sea Holy Land could completely ignore the doubts of outsiders, the doubts of a bunch of low-tier and mid-tier powers were fundamentally insignificant to the Cloud Sea Holy Land. However, the Cloud Sea Holy Land had always had an excellent reputation, and she didn't want this matter to affect it. Therefore, this matter had to be handled properly. Senior sister Su Wanqing fell into thought. If this secret realm really was a trap, and if it really was a conspiracy by the sea race, then after entering, there might not be any opportunities, but rather a group of sea race members instead. I suspect this is a trap set by the sea race. Junior brother, you are skilled in restrictions. If it is a trap, do you think there will be sea race members of the upper 5 realms inside the secret realm? Senior sister Su Wanqing asked, looking at Chen Xian. Even though restrictions aren't something that can be changed on a whim once they're set up, but I can't say for sure. Perhaps the sea race also has beings who are extremely skilled in restrictions. However, senior sister, I can find a loophole in the restrictions to allow you and the Holy Land Elders to enter the secret realm as well. In fact, when I asked you to bring me to see the secret realm, I hadn't thought about checking for problems. I was just thinking about whether I could find a loophole in the restrictions to let upper 5 realms cultivators enter, and then I was going to ask if you'd be willing to go in with me. With you by my side, senior sister, I would definitely be much safer. Chen Xian said with a slightly embarrassed smile. Senior sister Su Wanqing's face lit up with joy upon hearing that Chen Xian could allow upper 5 realms cultivators to enter. Then, hearing his later words, she couldn't help but chuckle. You, junior brother, you're amazing. Xiaorian praised Chen Xian without reservation. There's no time to lose. I'll contact the sect immediately and have them send a few more elders. I want this trap to become the burial ground for those who set it. Senior sister Su Wanqing's tone was gentle, yet it carried an air of dominance. It made sense. Gentle as she was, as the first personal disciple of the Holy Lord and someone who had cultivated to the sub-saint realm, this senior sister of Chun Xian's was never one to be trifled with. Senior sister Su Wanqing quickly went to contact the sect. The three of them did not leave. Soon, several Holy Land elders arrived first. Of course, the Holy Land wasn't that fast. Those who arrived were the elders stationed in Hailong City. There were always 9 elders assigned by the Holy Land to guard Hailong City. 6 sub-saints, 2 saints, and 1 great saint. Actually, among the sea race members who hated humans and constantly attacked the coastal kingdoms of the Eastern Desolation, the strongest were only sea demons at the saint realm. However, to be safe, there was still a great saint among the stationed elders. Junior Sister Su, is what you said in your message true? An old man asked after arriving. This was the great saint stationed in Hailong City. Senior brother, my junior brother wouldn't be mistaken. Senior Sister Su Wanqing's tone was mild, showing her extreme trust in Chun Xian. If Chun Xian said his Dao art was related to restrictions, then it certainly was. This great saint elder didn't mean anything else. He just couldn't believe it was a trap upon hearing the news. Those sea race members who attacked the Eastern Desolation had always been brainless, knowing only how to fight and kill. He hadn't expected them to actually come up with a trap this time. Senior Sister Su Wanqing and the others quickly discussed the next steps. For example, whether they should announce to the public that the secret realm was a trap. They could choose not to stop the cultivators of local powers from entering. But if they informed others beforehand that it was a trap and those people still chose to enter, then whatever happened to them would be none of the Cloud Sea Holy Land's business. They would have given advance warning that it was a trap. However, an announcement might also be heard by the ones who set the trap. Then, they would have made the trip for nothing. A wasted trip was fine, but if this matter wasn't completely resolved, it would remain a hidden danger. After discussing it, they decided not to leak the news for the time being. In 3 days after the secret realm opened, they could just find an excuse to hold back the local cultivators for a while. At the Cloud Sea Holy Land, after Master Yun received the news, she sent several elders over, and they had already arrived in Hailong City. A total of 3 Great Saint Realm elders and 1 Quasi-Emperor Realm elder arrived. The Cloud Sea Holy Land did not have a Grand Elder. Within the upper 5 realms, even a Quasi-Emperor was only of the elder generation. It went without saying that both outsiders and Holy Land disciples knew very well that there were gaps even among elders. Between the upper 5 realms, the gap between each realm was immense. Back to the point, including these 4, Hailong City now had 1 Quasi-Emperor and 4 Great Saints. No matter how dangerous this secret realm was, it could be handled. No matter what, it was impossible for a Great Emperor to appear among the sea race. Atop the cliff, after the 4 elders arrived, Senior Sister Su Wanqing and the others were somewhat surprised to see the Quasi-Emperor Realm Elder. They hadn't expected Senior Brother Yuan to come as well. Senior Brother Yuan, Senior Sister Su Wanqing, and the others all cupped their hands and greeted the Senior Brothers. No need for formalities. Let's talk business first. I'll take a look at the secret realm. Elder Yuan, looking like an old man, said with a chuckle. This Elder Yuan was also extremely skilled in restrictions. As he spoke, Elder Yuan approached the secret realm entrance, which had not yet fully formed. He then proceeded to examine it. After his investigation, Elder Yuan looked at everyone and nodded. It is indeed an acquired restriction. In that case, it really is a trap. An elder frowned slightly. Those wretched sea monsters actually know how to set traps now. If that's the case, how shall we proceed in 3 days? Shall we all go in together? Should we leave a few outside to prevent alluring the tiger from the mountain diversion? Another elder spoke. There's no hurry for that. Elder Yuan said slowly. Then, Elder Yuan looked at Chun Xian. This must be Martial Nephew Chun? Yes, Elder Yuan. Chun Xian replied with cupped hands. Elder Yuan nodded slightly and continued. I have studied the path of restrictions for many years and mastered several restriction-type daoarts, including one supreme Dao technique. Thus, I have some insights into the path of restrictions. Yet, I cannot find any loopholes in the restriction that would allow high-level cultivators to ignore the restriction's limits and enter the secret realm. All I can do is break the restriction, which is by no means an easy task. It is the same for the person who set the restriction. Therefore, even if there is a trap within the secret realm, enemies from the upper 5 realms likely won't appear. Moreover, the cultivation level of the person who set the restriction is certainly not low, at least in the upper 5 realms. Your current cultivation is indeed too low, only at the Dharma image stage. So, I want to know, how will you find a loophole in the restriction, and how can you make high-level cultivators ignore it? Elder Yuan might not have intended to question him, but his words certainly carried a hint of doubt. Upon hearing this, Chun Xian was also a bit surprised. He could do it naturally because of one thought seals the heavens. Even without the spirit awakening of one thought seals the heavens, as he reached perfection in his cultivation and mastered the Tao seal, he could still achieve what Elder Yuan mentioned. But Elder Yuan could not, which only proved one thing. One thought seals the heavens was incredibly powerful in the path of restrictions. It was even among the top-tier arts among supreme Tao techniques. Everyone present, except for senior sisters Su Wanqing and Xia Ruyan, looked at Chun Xian with some suspicion and surprise after hearing Elder Yuan's words. They were naturally aware of senior brother Yuan's capabilities regarding restrictions. If senior brother Yuan couldn't do it, could this martial nephew Chun Xian really? Senior brother Yuan, I believe my junior brother wouldn't speak boastfully. Since he says he can, then he certainly can. Senior sister Su Wanqing's tone remained gentle, but she was firmly supporting Chun Xian. That's right, Elder Yuan. It's possible that the restriction Dao art my junior brother knows is better suited for finding loopholes. Xia Ruyan also spoke up. Dao arts of the same type can have different focuses, so Xia Ruyan's words were very reasonable. Chun Xian knew well that one thought seals the heavens didn't just focus on one aspect. It was almost omnipotent. Of course, that wasn't the point. The point was, hearing his 2 senior sisters speak up for him, a warmth rose in Chun Xian's heart. Elder Yuan, the restriction within the secret realm is indeed very strong. I cannot shake it either. However, to allow the elders to enter the secret realm, there is no need to shake the restriction. My method is to place a restriction on each of the elders, allowing this restriction to deceive the one inside the secret realm into thinking that you are not cultivators of the upper 5 realms. I can set up the restriction now for Elder Yuan to examine. Chun Xian said, neither humble nor arrogant. Martial nephew Chun, feel free to proceed. Elder Yuan said with great curiosity. He was indeed curious, as he had a great love for the path of restrictions. Thus, he felt a spark of excitement at seeing something new. Of course, that was provided Chun Xian was telling the truth. Chun Xian said no more and tapped his finger in the air, a restriction slowly taking shape. This restriction gradually grew from simple to complex. Chun Xian intentionally allowed the restriction to form slowly. In truth, if he wanted to, he could form a restriction with a single thought. After all, a major feature of one thought seals the heavens was forming a restriction in a single thought. But, while Chun Xian didn't play the weakling, he still knew how to hide his true abilities. Always keep a card up one sleeve. In any case, as long as he achieved his goal, forming a restriction in a single thought could serve as a backup plan, an unexpected trump card. As the restriction slowly took shape, Elder Yuan stared intently at the restriction. Although the others couldn't quite understand it, they felt that it seemed truly impressive. As time passed, a restriction fully took shape. Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. Using a restriction to deal with a restriction. This restriction is truly beyond words. Elder Yuan exclaimed with excitement. Senior brother Yuan, can this restriction really allow us to enter the secret realm? Seeing this, one of the elders asked. Elder Yuan nodded. It can, absolutely. Martial nephew Chun, I have studied restrictions for many years in vain. I never expected that compared to you, I would pale in comparison. Elder Yuan's tone was particularly full of emotion. Chun Xian's restriction made him feel as though he had lived all these years in vain. This was the feeling many ordinary cultivators had upon witnessing a genius. Chun Xian felt no pride upon hearing this. He knew his restriction was so powerful purely because one thought seals the heavens was strong enough, and because he could only achieve such results after the system's spirit awakening. Otherwise, it wasn't even certain if he could have learned one thought seals the heavens. The more powerful a Dao art, the harder it is to learn. When he was guiding Lu Yu in purple chi from the east, he had asked her how her learning of one thought seals the heavens was going. Lu Yu told him she had no clue. She could at least grasp the threshold of purple chi from the east and had some confidence in mastering it. But when facing one thought seals the heavens, she truly had no confidence at all. She had long since given up on the idea of cultivating one thought seals the heavens, spending more of her time on purple chi from the east. So, if not for the system, Chun Xian likely wouldn't have been able to learn one thought seals the heavens either. It was laughable that when he first obtained one thought seals the heavens, he was still thinking about whether to save some spirit awakening points and try to teach himself. It was a good thing he didn't actually try to teach himself. Otherwise, he would have experienced the feeling of being completely helpless before a supreme Dao technique.